serve. They are the ones that need Section 230.
No, I agree. It's all the blogs, but it's on the internet as opposed to, the newspapers are responsible for what they publish. What
activity and suppressing speech. And while these companies may have legal, economic, and ideological engage with news content, share information, and entertain themselves. In a survey released in March, Pew found that Facebook dominates the social media landscape, with 68% of U.S. adults stating that they use this social media platform online or on their cell phone. This same survey found that nearly 3/4 of U.S. adults use YouTube, a platform with many social media elements, including 94% of 18 to 24-year-olds. Also covered in this survey was Twitter, which controls a smaller demographic, but nevertheless attracts 40% of 18 to 24-year-olds to its platform. While it is clear that these numbers show that social media platforms have direct control over incredible volumes of user-created content, the method by which these companies manage this content is far from clear. Facebook, Google, and Twitter, in many cases, would like to appear as neutral channels. YouTube, a subsidiary of Google, for example, states that its purpose is to give everyone a voice and show them the world. But this goal, and those of the others, appear wildly aspirational and do not reflect the true nature of the business that these for-profit companies engage in. In reality, these companies, like all other legitimate businesses, are exercising great care and discretion to ensure that their services are not abused. For example, we know that they monitor content to ensure that no illegal activity such as fraud, piracy, identity theft, and sex trafficking, among others, is being committed on their platforms. This fact should not surprise us. Indeed, they are required to do so. However, beyond illegal activity, as private actors, we know that these companies manage content on their platforms as they see fit. The First Amendment offers no clear protections for users when Facebook, Google, or Twitter limits their content in any way. Moreover, they maintain terms of service pages which contain rules that users must agree to abide by in order to use their platforms. And at least in some cases, when content is identified as violating a company's terms of service, it is subject to human review. There is, however, a fine line between removing illegal activity and suppressing speech.
What's going on? How you doing?
While these companies may have legal, economic, and ideological reasons to manage their content like a traditional
Fix to
media
find out how
outlet,
stupid our government is when it comes to you and your rights to say what you want.
The standards they apply endanger our free and open society and its culture of freedom of expression, especially when it is through these channels that our youth are learning to interact with each other and the world. Speaking before the Phoenix Chamber of Commerce in 1961,
this has
Ronald
already
Reagan
been going
observed
on,
that
so we're going to
freedom
pass these
is
guys
never
up.
more than one generation away from extinction. In a 2017 communication to the Facebook community, CEO Mark Zuckerberg asked the following question: "Are we building the world we all want?" That is the very question presiding over this hearing today. And while I am pleased to ask this question to our distinguished panel of witnesses appearing before us today, it is unfortunate, despite our repeated invitations, representatives from Google, Facebook, and Twitter have declined to testify. If this is any indication of their efforts to be more transparent, then we all may already have our answer to Mr. Zuckerberg's question. With that, I want to thank all of our witnesses in attendance today, and I look forward to your testimony.
Notice Google, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, none of them showed up for this hearing because they don't give a fuck what you got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
This is the Democrat. This is Mr. Nadler.
Chairman. Over the course of the past year, the majority has refused to hold hearings or conduct oversight of any kind on any topic related to social media.
The majority has turned a blind eye both to discrete cases, like the theft of millions of Facebook user profiles by Cambridge Analytica, and to broader questions, like the flawed policies that allow those user profiles to escape in the first place. Time and again, House Republicans have attempted to turn the committee's attention away from these issues, either ignoring or hoping to distract from the serious conversations we should be having.
They've talked to these dumbasses
Over the past
several
year
times.
alone, the majority has...
And this guy says they never have.
...refused our request to hold hearings on how Russian operatives leveraged social media to influence the 2016 elections. Refused the Congressional Black Caucus's request to hold hearings on how those...
This guy is not concerned with your First Amendment, Second Amendment, Third Amendment, Fourth Amendment. He's not concerned with you at all. He's worried about why Donald Trump got elected president.
Since they were offered
even though they've got Hillary for shit tons of crimes, which would have kept her out of the presidency. This is what they're doing.
Ask, really, for information from Cambridge
You're getting fucked up by the government, by Facebook and Google and YouTube.
The Trump campaign,
and this guy don't give a shit. Mr. Nadler's his name.
2016 campaign.
Some fucking dumb dipshit senator.
Promised us briefings with various social media companies, but never delivered. Decided that we should be the only committee of jurisdiction not to hear from Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg directly after his appearances before the House Energy and Commerce Committee, the Senate Judiciary Committee, and the Senate Commerce Committee. Refused to call Cambridge
asked these people to show up, and they chose not to show up.
For a transcribed interview, and just this week declined my invitation to participate in an interview with Mr. Wiley after Democrats arranged for the interview on our own. In short, House Republicans have no time for substantive oversight of the Trump administration, or election security, or privacy policy, or even a discussion about...
And this guy's got no time for you, the American citizen.
But they have made time for Diamond and Silk. They have prioritized this spectacle over every other conversation we should be having today.
Start booting people. I can imagine it'll happen at some point.
Now, to be clear, Ms. Hardaway and Ms. Richardson are entitled to say whatever they would like about President Trump or anyone else. But the majority has called them here to stand for the baseless proposition that Facebook, Google, and Twitter are engaged in a Silicon Valley plot.
Now, I want y'all to understand something here. Assault scene had happened to me. You be streaming, somebody will come in, threaten you, do whatever. You say one comment back. You, the broadcaster, the one running this thing, gets shut down. They do nothing to the person that's straight nonstop doing what he's doing. You report him, he comes back the next day. You report him, he comes back the next day. They don't care about those people because they think the exact same way, and especially they base it on, they do just like some of us do. I don't know where Venom's from. I don't give a shit. Don't mean to be rude, but I don't. Now, these senators over here, Republican and Democrats, you're going to hear stupid. This is about what Facebook, YouTube, Google, Twitter, all social media. This is about what they do to censor. There are things they are required by law to censor. Pornographic stuff, stealing of identities, bullshit like that. Just little tiny, there's only 4 or 5 things they have to fucking do. That's it. The terms of service that nobody ever reads. Nobody reads it. The people that run these places couldn't tell you what those terms of service are either, because they don't read them either. They sit here and based on how you believe and how you vote and what you they know what you do. They watch you. That's what they watch at us right now. They know you in here doing this. They know you in here watching this. So what they do is well, he's not saying stuff that goes with what we believe, so we're going to label him a threat and shut him down. That's what they do. But if you espouse what they believe, you're perfectly fine to say what the hell ever. I get on here and bash Trump all day. Nobody would say shit. My channel would never go away. Let me bash Obama, Hillary, that David Hogg kid, anybody on the left. They would shut my shit the fuck off. Got that right. Right? That's what I'm saying. This is how ignorant these people are. That's what nobody realized. When I tell everybody the shit I say about how fucking dumb I think everybody on this planet is, I mean it. You do not want me to be president. If you somebody on the left, you do not want me to be president. You would not want me. This shit would not go the fuck on with me. I would end all this bullshit. There would be cameras in the Congress. There would be cameras in the Senate. These people are working for you. Guess what? Probably. It wouldn't surprise me none. They probably had something to do with it. The problem is these people would have cameras everywhere they go. There would not be none of this backdoor session bullshit. It'd be a crime for you to conduct government business away from the government and the people not see what you're doing. That should be a crime. That's your government. Them people don't know anybody that they support. They don't know hardly anyone. They come out, they act like you're your buddy, and they're fucking not. They don't know you. Be honest. Notice, 0 fucks given. Don't give a shit. This is just how it is. Fucking the truth hurts. Deal with it. I might not like what you fucking say, but you got a right to goddamn well say it. That's all there is to it. If I don't want to listen to it, turn a channel. I ain't got to shut you down. I just ain't got to listen to you. Hell, I can come a channel behind you, tell people what a dumbass I think you are and why I think you're a dumbass. Somebody doing it to me right now, probably. I don't give a fuck. They're entitled to that. But if they come in here running their shit, I ain't got to listen to it. I'll kick you the fuck out. That's my freedom to be on my shit. Facebook is nothing. It's a public entity. It's not their shit. It's ours. That's how this goes.
Censor conservative voices. Let us review the facts. Based on what I
don't listen to him.
Single communication
that man's crazy.
To Ms. Hardaway and Ms. Richardson, an email that the CEO of the company has already admitted was sent in error, our witnesses will claim that Facebook is censoring their posts. Of course,
Facebook is censoring their posts because I don't get none of their shit.
On Facebook, where they have 1.4 million followers, in a post that has 100,000 likes and 60,000 shares. Nearly 350,000 additional users have liked their Facebook page in the past 3 weeks alone. Most of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle would kill for that kind of reach on social media. The witnesses will complain that Facebook has limited the ability of their followers to interact with their Facebook page. But the data show that their Facebook page received more total interactions in March 2018, when they were supposedly being censored, than in March 2017, fresh off
this Nadler dude is already calling these two black women that are conservatives fucking liars. Right off the bat, he's calling them liars.
Scrutiny. Which is not to say, Mr. Chairman, that the committee shouldn't have a hearing about how filtering works on private social media platforms. Social media filtering practices and their effect on free speech.
I get censored all the time.
This hearing.
I'd like this fuck to tell me that shit.
And one I would encourage you to schedule. But that isn't what today's hearing is about, and the majority knows it. The notion that social media companies are filtering out conservative voices is a hoax.
No, it's not.
A higher narrative of imagined victimhood as the rest of the country grapples with a feckless president.
Now you hear what he just said. Imagined victimhood and the feckless president. So you already know where he stands. So people who say they're being discriminated against because you won't call them a certain noun. That's a fake victimhood. Bitch, you either a man or a fucking woman. Dude, I got all kinds of Trump shirts. I don't like hats. I don't like hats. I wear Trump shirts all the damn time, dude. Let me see if I got a couple of them. Let me see what I got. Well, you know what? Is this one of them? Is this one of them? I doubt it. No. That's my Pink Floyd shirt. I know I got them. Anyway, I got one. I have one shirt. It's the Sonny Liston and Muhammad Ali fight Muhammad Ali's standing over top of listing after he knocked him the fuck out. And it says we don't play together because we can't get along together. And it's Donald Trump knocking Hillary Clinton out. I wear that son of a bitch every. That motherfucker's funny as shit. People hate that shirt because it's her on her back.
Out of control administration. The majority designed this hearing to perpetuate that hoax.
Now it's a hoax.
Commentary, including conspiracy theories of a conservative bent, regularly rank among the most far-reaching posts on Facebook and elsewhere. To argue otherwise is to ignore the facts, or to act in bad faith, or both. And to make matters worse, the majority has prioritized this hoax over matters that the committee should have investigated long ago.
They've got shit they still ain't investigating, ain't doing shit about. And he's talking about you trampling on our first and second and third. You trampling on our rights, our constitutional rights. You trample on them. And then you come in here and call people that it's happening to liars. I distinctly remember, this is why liberals and Democrats are fucking, excuse me, don't take this wrong, but majority of liberals and Democrats are fucking dumbass bitches and need not fucking have any reason. Take away their fucking right to vote because them motherfuckers are stupid as shit. You can't let ignorance, Oh, I know. They say all kinds of shit to you, dude. And they say it because they don't think you can do anything. That's what I'm saying. You guys see me. I record everything. If I'm doing shit on the phone with like government officials or whatever, I record that shit. I record it because these motherfuckers are crazy. These are people that are in control of what you can do. As a human being, as a free man, these people try to control you. Why? You work for me, bitch. Right? Yep. That's what I'm saying. Let me be president. Let me be president. I don't even need 4 years. I don't need 4 years. We would not have. We fucked up when they took. We started fucking up when they quit teaching the Constitution in schools. If they would still teach everybody the Constitution, I had a year of it when I was in high school. Government. I had a whole year of it. That's why I'm like this. I knew at the age of 17, 18, cops were stupid because they don't know the fucking laws. And there's no such thing as a good cop. They don't exist. I tell cops to their fucking faces they don't exist. You know, I'm a good cop. No, you're not. You got corrupt people in your office and you know some of them and they still there because you won't do shit. Who's a communist?
The decision to hold this hearing, while still ignoring questions of substance that have been squarely before us for months, does real and lasting damage to this esteemed committee. What are House Republicans so afraid of that they will not even
he's
join
not even going to do
asking
this.
Questions about Facebook
So
or
we're
Russian
going to kick Nadler off here
a
for a
host of
second.
other issues, some that I mentioned earlier, that
making decisions to ban, deprioritize, or otherwise filter. So we recognize that some speech is
the 2016 campaign. Argument on
Trade Commission in 2011 regarding Google and search results on YouTube, and a statement from the National Religious Broadcasters. I'd like to now welcome our first panel of witnesses. Our first witness is the Honorable Marsha Blackburn from the 7th District of Tennessee, and our second witness is the Honorable Jim Himes from the 4th District of Connecticut. Your written statement will be entered into the record in its entirety, and we ask that you summarize your testimony in 5 minutes. And Representative Blackburn, we will begin with you. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Nadler, and to my colleagues on the committee, thank you for inviting me.
No, this is Marsha Blackburn. This is a Republican.
To be here and talk about online censorship.
I don't know. I'll pay attention to some of these people.
There are growing concerns about how and why big tech companies are making decisions to ban, deprioritize, or otherwise filter completely.
Ms. Blackburn brought Diamond and Silk in.
Mark Zuckerberg testified earlier this month. Every time someone asked about censoring conservatives, he said that Facebook takes down bad content like terrorism. When he gave me that answer, I responded that diamond and silk are not terrorism. But this problem is more far-reaching than diamond and silk. Last October, Twitter blocked my campaign launch video from its ads platform due to my pro-life message. This ban threatened the fundamental freedom to engage in political speech. For example, broadcasters are forbidden under Section 315 of the Communications Act from censoring the ad of a political candidate even if it has disturbing content or language. Like social media platforms, broadcasters clearly are private entities with their own First Amendment rights. But even so, we recognize that some speech is so important that we must protect its access to an important platform. Twitter reversed its decision in my case, but the bans keep coming. Just a few days ago, Google banned a large Lutheran denomination from its ads platform. YouTube banned the entire channel of Spikes Tactical, a well-known firearm manufacturer. When bans get reversed, we are told, well, mistakes were made. But why is it that the mistakes nearly always seem to run in one direction?
There you go.
To make matters worse, many of these decisions are made within the black box of an algorithm. Facebook recently tweaked its algorithm to prioritize content that is, and I'm quoting, trustworthy, informative, and local, end quote. No one knows exactly what that means, but we do know that since then there has been a significant reduction in traffic from Facebook to some of the most prominent conservative sites.
Yeah, now they actually
As chair
sent
of the Communications and Technology Subcommittee,
update on the school. It's been 45 days, maybe. Something like that. It's probably been a little longer. I don't know. I don't fucking pay attention. They actually sent a truant officer to my house. They're trying to get the state to come after me, even though they're the ones that are supposed to do it. They don't want no part of it. They want the state to come get me. So I told the truant officer, who knows the guy that I was talking, who I told the school, he told the school that my son wasn't going to attend until they corrected their problems, until they fixed what they had going, and they haven't done it. They're not even attempting to do it. So they come over to my house. I'm talking about, we'll take you to court. They're going to try to, try it. Remember, I've got this shit on fucking video. I've got email. I've got everything. Take me to court. Take me to court. Everything you do is online. You do not have these classes. Fuck with me. And she's like, I'm like, you need to go back and tell whoever, they don't want no part of this. This is something this school needs to do. I'm strictly, if the state comes after me, I'll turn my attention to the state. The higher I got to go, this is going to be discussed. I'm going to make it through. I don't have to worry about my son or my grandchildren or my great-grandchildren ever having an education. I will fucking destroy whoever comes after me and my family over the dumb shit that goes the fuck on. Just like with this censoring shit. The schools don't teach. They don't teach. Kids go to school nowadays, they come home dumber than when they left your house that morning. Every time you send them, they come home a little bit stupider because the schools are not teaching them. So, more when I find out what the fuck goes on there.
we held a hearing in November on algorithms. Our findings show that big tech platforms are the new public square, and their executives, as the gatekeepers, are the new governors. But these governors do not have a First Amendment. Free speech as a value is endangered even here in America, which is non-existent in most of the world. We need to recognize that the global reach of these systems creates overwhelming pressure
I'm never not
against
fighting.
free speech, and we need to do a better job of counteracting that pressure. Section 230 of the Communications Act gives online platforms broad immunity for user-generated content, except for a responsibility to take down certain things like child sex, theft of intellectual property, or terrorism. This should translate into more freedom, not less, for users. But instead, we are seeing more and more content censored by these new governors on some very flimsy pretenses. As such, perhaps it is time to review some of our fundamental assumptions. I had the ability to fight back. Diamond and Silk had the ability to fight back. But what about the thousands of others being thrown out of our new public squares for no good, definable reason? We are here today to speak up for them, and we are here today to speak up for free speech. I thank the committee for your
The worst criminals are the ones with power.
Discussion. I yield back.
Thank you, Representative Blackburn. Representative Himes, welcome.
Thank you, Chairman Goodlatte, Ranking Member Nadler, and distinguished colleagues. When I came to the Congress almost 10 years ago, I was overwhelmed by the privilege of working here. Even now,
the bullying thing. Tell me if this is how your bullying policy is, and I'll tell you what. I'll tell you why you need to do that. Your bullying policy. Two kids get in a fight. One kid doesn't do anything at all. Just stands there and takes the ass beating. He also gets punished because he was part of the fight. Even if he did nothing at all to do it other than just show up and be who he is. Is that correct? And they get pretty much the exact same punishment. Okay. That's not a bullying policy. That policy right there will turn your child into what mine is. Well, I turned mine into that on his own because I knew what was going on. If it's a bullying policy, your child is going to learn very quickly. If I don't do anything, I'm still going to get punished. But if I do something and stop, and if I fight back and beat him, I can stop him from fucking with me again. I'm still going to get the same punishment. So they see it as, why not just go ahead and beat the dude's ass? So the next person that just looks at him wrong, I'm going to beat his ass to just stop this before it ever happens. I'm going to get 5 days. That's how they begin to think. And that's where the school fucks up. Well, yeah, that's how it should be. No. You don't fucking give a rape victim a jail sentence because a guy raped her. Or you don't do that. That's fucking stupid. Why would you do the same thing to this? That's just fucking retarded. Fight them. Have them explain how that makes fucking sense. And when they can't, that's when you say, it's my job as my parent to keep my child from an unsafe environment. Where he goes to your school, it's an unsafe environment because you do not know what the fuck you're doing. And yank him out. But that's how it is here. That's how they do. You know what I'm saying? My kid's been suspended several times because somebody put their hands on him and he would beat their ass. Oh, dude, that's fucking, it's not, trust me, there's more going on than you even realize going on in your city. You have no idea how bad it is there. You only see what you see. They only print what they print. You don't know half the shit that goes on in your town. These motherfuckers, the cops here won't fuck with me. They'll come by and talk, but they really don't like trying to fuck with me. Because I know my shit. I don't fuck with them, dude. You ain't what, I know my rights. This is my property, not yours. I didn't ask you, get the fuck off my property.
Can't quite shake the feeling that we serve in the shadow of people like Abraham Lincoln, Sam Rayburn, and Shirley Chisholm. Now I sit in front of this storied committee with a simple message. The truth matters. This committee shapes our courts. It oversees the enforcement of our laws. It balances our cherished liberties with our need for security. To this committee especially, the truth matters. Yet today this committee meets to promote a false narrative. It meets to continue the hoax, now fully rebutted, that Facebook and other social media have mounted a deliberate crusade to filter out conservative opinion. Congress and this committee should look hard at Facebook. Over 2 billion people use it. The Kremlin used it to widen American fault lines before an election. It has personal data on all of us. People get their news from Facebook. That is huge power. That power must be constrained by fairness, care, and responsibility, and making sure that happens is our job. Congress and the social media companies must make sure they contribute positively to American life. Instead, today we will amplify the financially lucrative and politically convenient hoax that Facebook is purposefully censoring Diamond and Silk. Let's spend a minute on the facts. Diamond and Silk got into a complicated commercial dispute with Facebook about how you can make money on their site. Facebook mistakenly told them their content had been judged unsafe. Facebook publicly and privately acknowledged their mistake, apologized, and reached out to them by phone, on email, and on Twitter to work this out. And most importantly, as the charts next to me show, Diamond and Silk suffered no decline in their interactions online compared to such liberal sites as Rachel Maddow and the Young Turks. Mr. Chairman, I was in business for many years. Assuming that roughly half of Facebook users lean right, what possible business logic is there in alienating half of your customers? There is none. Those are the facts, and that is the truth, and the truth matters. The problem is this particular truth is pretty boring.
I don't do it that way.
Fire anybody up. It does not play into the carefully manufactured fear of the American right that everybody is out to get them.
This guy's a fucking tard. I'll get back to him in a second. I don't do that with my son. I don't do that. He doesn't know. Your son does not know. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if he's going to do it, you might want to look at, but no, don't do it. Don't start it. You never start it. I tell my son, if they threaten you, if they're up in your shit talking about they're going to beat your ass, don't talk. Whoop their ass. Whoop his ass. He threatens you, defend yourself. That's what I tell my son. And if the principal has a problem with it, I go in and talk to him and find out. And if he tells me, oh, well, he's known something was going on, now we have a problem with you. Why didn't you talk to him? No. You know damn well that don't fucking work because you tried it and it don't fucking work. How many times you done that? Well, I do it all the time. Does it ever work? Well, sometimes. But it doesn't always work, does it? No. Well, now you need to set a fucking example. And you're not going to use my kid to fucking do it. Go to a school board meeting. Have it them sons of bitches. You got to climb a fucking ladder, dude. Dealing with them dumbasses in them buildings don't do you shit. You need to go around that and go straight to the fucking head of the snake. I don't fuck around. I don't talk to them people at that school because they're fucking do nothing but lie. And you guys heard it on, everybody heard it on here. I'll have my kids back until I start finding out what the hell's going on. And if I find out that my kid actually started it, punish his ass. Do what you got to do. I'll get him when I get home. Other than that, I got my kids back up. My kid does not like me because I don't put up with shit. I tell you to do something, you goddamn well fucking do it. That's how it goes. But people nowadays are little fucking pussies because they hang around with people in schools are little bitches that are filling their heads all this soft shit. The world's not a place for soft people. It's not what this motherfucking world is. Soft people get fucking crushed.
Find that the right controls the White
dumbass.
House, both houses of Congress, more and more of the Supreme
They don't
Court,
control
and
shit.
governorships all over America. Never mind Sinclair. Never mind the global Murdoch news empire. The right must be under siege. Because if there is no siege, there is no fear, and there is no anger.
This guy's
Without
a fucking
fear
idiot.
and anger, well, people might not show up at the polls. Without fear and anger, people might ask.
Sounds a lot like what the Democrats do also, doesn't it?
Rather than improving their education.
Fear and anger.
They might wonder why we haven't.
Who's full of fear and anger?
To shore up Social Security. They might realize that we've done absolutely.
And then look at what they're fearing and angry about.
Highways and our
one side is fearing stuff that's illegal.
I was moved yesterday when
the other side is fearing stuff that's actually legal.
Spoke to us. From where I sat, you could look just past him and see the Marquis de Lafayette. Do you remember what he said? He said, you can play on fear and anger for a time, but they do not build anything.
Correct, they don't. That's why it's getting torn the fuck down now, you dumbass.
That Facebook filters out conservative commentary is untrue, and that charge will go the way of Pizzagate and stand-down orders at Benghazi, of Obama wiretapping Trump and the Vince Foster murder, and all of these conspiracies that sprout around here like spring flowers. But in the meantime,
everything he mentions, they won't look at. It's the opposite is what they do.
Don't take it from this Democrat. Yesterday,
yeah, you don't need an iron fist. You just need to set a tone.
The Bush administration wrote in the Washington Times, quote, "Our obsession with political theater has brought us to the point where now a respected and important House committee will spend several hours taking testimony from 2 YouTube celebrities, all done at taxpayer expense."
This guy is ignorant. Oh, but it's okay for them to waste billions of dollars on an investigation that's not even legal.
Democracy. Because democracy
this guy's a fucking idiot.
Choices and rational decisions. The corruption of information is an attempt to corrode the very spirit of our democracies.
This guy needs to go out back and suck another dick. I'll be right back. I'll get me something to drink.
Past the nonsense.
Well, drink me some white milk.
Put past our differences to fight that corruption and that corrosion. Because the truth matters. Thank you.
I'd like to thank our first panel of witnesses for being here today. And since we do not ask questions of members of Congress, we are going to thank you and excuse both of you.
Ooh, I got in here just as that dumbass fucking walked the hell out. Thank fucking God.
I would now like to introduce our second panel. Our first witness, Google, which has refused to appear today, is ranked first in the world and in the United States for user traffic according to Amazon's Alexa, which tracks such data. In addition to being the top search engine in the world, its subsidiary, YouTube, attracts 30 million daily visitors and boasts a total of 1.3 billion users. Google has been accused of maintaining bias against conservative views, both internally and on their platforms.
Yes, they do.
For example, PragerU, a channel that features educational videos featuring the world's best thinkers, such as Harvard Law professor Alan Dershowitz, speaking about the founding of Israel, was unjustly restricted by YouTube through a feature intended to filter out, quote, inappropriate content for younger audiences. The list of restricted content, according to PragerU, included videos titled, "Why America Must Lead," "The 10 Commandments Do Not Murder," Why Did America Fight the Korean War?" and "The World's Most Persecuted Minority, Christians." According to Dennis Prager, PragerU's founder, watch any of our videos and you'll immediately realize that Google YouTube censorship is entirely ideologically driven. For the record, our videos are presented by some of the finest minds in the Western world, including 4 Pulitzer Prize winners, former prime ministers, and professors from the most prestigious universities in America. As a result, PragerU has taken legal action in federal court. Our second witness today, which has also refused to appear, is Facebook. Facebook's website, according to Alexa, ranks 3rd in the United States and in the world. It receives 1.4 billion daily active
1, 2, and 3 are all based in California.
And, quote, express themselves freely, end quote, on its platform. According to a report issued by Media Research Center, this company suppresses pro-life advertisements in addition to conservative content. For example, quote, both Right to Life Michigan and the Wexford Misaki Right to Life were unable to advertise on the site because Facebook did not support ads for their business model, end quote. According to the report, Facebook only permitted the ads after media attention. In addition to the suppression of conservative and pro-life content, Facebook has been accused of removing content related to a police shooting that sparked overwhelming national attention. In the summer of 2016, the aftermath of the tragic shooting of Philando Castile was live streamed through Facebook. According to one description of Facebook's actions, quote, it suddenly disappeared from Facebook. A few hours later, the footage reappeared, this time with a label affixed warning of graphic content. In official statements, Facebook blamed the takedown on a technical glitch, but provided no further details. I believe we will learn more about, quote, enforcement errors, end quote, and technical glitches, end quote, later in this hearing. Our third witness is Twitter. Like our other invited witnesses on
Did
this
not show up.
Twitter refused to attend. According to Alexa, Twitter's website ranking is 8th in the United States and 13th in the world. In terms of traffic, approximately 8,000 tweets are sent per second. In addition to the attacks on Representative Blackburn's pro-life ads, Twitter has been accused of suppressing the pro-life advertisements of Live Action. According to the report issued by the Media Research Center, Twitter demanded Live Action purge not only its Twitter but also its website of a multitude of content, including ultrasounds, in order for it to advertise on the platform. Twitter was effectively trying to force Live Action to stop promoting everything it did as an investigative pro-life organization. While this committee has presented the opportunity for these companies to come describe their filtering practices and answer questions that members on both sides of the aisle have about these practices, their refusal to appear only creates more questions and more concerns. The committee is resolved to have its questions answered directly by these companies, and we will pursue whatever means necessary to get those answers. We now welcome our third panel of distinguished witnesses, who I believe are here. If you would please, you'll get a chance to question these witnesses.
We're going to get an opening statement.
Everybody's getting in line.
Thank you all for joining us today. If you would all please rise, I'll begin by swearing you in. Do you and each of you swear that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you very much. Let the record show that all of the witnesses answered in the affirmative. Our first witnesses are social media personalities Lynette Diamond Hardaway and Rochelle Silk Richardson. Our second witness, Baron Soka, the president of Tech Freedom. Our third witness is Professor Ari Waldman, a professor of law and the director of the Innovative Center for Law and Technology at New York Law School. And our fourth and final witness of the day is David Chavern, the president and CEO of News Media Alliance and the American Press Institute. Your written statements will all be entered into the record in their entirety, and we ask that each of you summarize your testimony in 5 minutes. To help you stay within that time, there is a timing light on your table. When the light switches from green to yellow, you have 1 minute to conclude your testimony. When the light turns red, it signals your 5 minutes have expired. Ms. Hardaway and Ms. Richardson, you may begin. I understand you're going to share your 5 minutes. Welcome.
We would like to thank the Judiciary Committee for allowing us the opportunity to voice our concerns about conservatives being targeted and censored on social media platforms. Facebook, along with other social media sites, have taken aggressive actions to silence conservative voices such as ourselves by deliberately restricting and weaponizing our page with algorithms that censor and suppress our free speech. These biased algorithms are tactics designed to pick up on keywords, thus telling the pages how to behave in ways that repress and stifle express ideas, including shadow banning, which block our content from being seen by our
I would think it
followers
should be
while
censored.
depriving our brand
Certain
through
things
the
shouldn't be allowed on it,
demonetization of our
like pornography,
videos.
you know, shit like
Followers
that.
stop receiving notification
But
when
anything else should be allowed.
And content followers was also mysteriously unliked from our page. Subtle and slowly, Facebook used one mechanism
YouTube has a thing where if someone likes your page and then they come and unlike it, you don't lose just one, you lose 3 or 4.
Content, thus silencing our conservative voices.
I've seen it happen on a dude's page before.
For an explanation, they gave us the runaround. Mark Zuckerberg testified before Congress and stated that the most important thing he cared about was making sure no one interferes in the 2018 elections. But after doing our research, we wondered if Mark Zuckerberg was using Facebook to interfere in the 2018 elections by labeling users' accounts as either liberal, very liberal, moderate, conservative, or very conservative. This is one of the main underhanded ways to censor conservatives. So if I'm labeled as very liberal without the option to edit it, update, and correct the settings, then algorithms are already put in place which allows advertisers that have liberal views, services, and causes to target me.
Right.
And you can see the graph on the screen. And it shows clearly that our personal accounts have been already labeled. Diamond and Silk personal
TV station gets to decide what they put on.
As very legal.
They don't have to allow you.
Even though we are
places
not
like
very
Facebook,
liberal,
YouTube,
Facebook
Twitter, those are public domains. And they say,
making it less likely for us to see advertisements.
No, they can't avoid it. But
services for a conservative
you want to get your shit on in front of a news station?
Labeled our user accounts as
get on the sidewalk with
got it wrong. How many more?
All you gotta do is get on the sidewalk with it. You can't block the sidewalk.
On September
but you can have it on the sidewalk. Get enough people and you can all walk around the entire block of the building. They can't say shit. You're on a public sidewalk. You're allowed to do that. That's where you chose to walk that day.
All of the complaints
you get it all over the news.
From our followers where they're not receiving notifications.
Record it. The police will show up. Record it. You outside a news studio and the cops are there and you walk around with signs.
Someone with a liberal point of view that spew hate against the president can garner up to 19
but
million
that's the problem.
With only
they allow that stuff.
39,000 followers.
You allow that. They allow that stuff on their things.
Million followers and only receive 13,000
But you can't sit there and talk about someone with a different political view. Or someone that thinks, oh, well, my name is Bill, but I'm going by Tina today. Tomorrow I'm going to be a -2. You can't do any of that. But you can post them all pictures of boobs and all kinds.
When we uploaded
that's what's fucking. That's what they're saying.
With 1.2
they censored
people,
the wrong fucking shit.
Able to reach 37,000.
And you shouldn't be able to censor none of that stuff.
As soon as Mark
except for the porn.
Facebook, this here issue came to light, and they started taking those algorithms off. We uploaded the same video on April the 12th, and it was able to garner 400,000 views. After looking at our analytical on picture 5, part 3, after looking at our analytical, you can clearly see that the restrictions are back because after the 12th, everything started going back downhill. In 2016, with less than 1 million followers, our reach page would garner 5 to 8 million people or more within a week. All of that changed when the algorithms was placed back on our page to suppress our reach. YouTube also demonetized 95% of our videos in 2017.
I don't even know where none of that stuff is. I don't have a laptop anymore.
Even though our account was in good standard. We also show that Mark Zuckerberg said he don't allow hate speech, yet when people say the word I hate or we hate, those people also garner views. Was it in an enforcement error for 6 months, 29 days, 5 hours, 40 minutes, and 43 seconds of chatting and emailing about the same issue and being told that my issue would be escalated to a Facebook team, a spam team, the technical team, the appeal team, the internal team, the policy team, only to be told on January the 8th, 2018 that a request was never sent? And we have the proof. See picture 10 and picture 11. Censorship is no hoax. It's real. It's wrong for these social media giants to suppress and disregard people by diminishing and denying them their free speech. If social media is supposed to be a place for all ideas or to express an idea, then algorithms and tactics should not be in place to suppress some ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hardaway. Mr. Soka, welcome.
Thank you, Chairman Goodlatte, Ranking Member Nadler. Thank you for inviting
Turn your microphone on.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Goodlatte, Ranking Member Nadler, for inviting me to testify here before your committee today. Mr. Chairman, it's a particular honor to testify before your retirement. We at Tech Freedom haven't always agreed with you over the years, but I've always considered you to be among the most thoughtful members of Congress, true lawyer's lawyer. I particularly commend you for the work that your committee did over the last year on how to combat online sex trafficking. The legislation produced by this committee was carefully tailored to help prosecutors stop sites like Backpage and ensure that victims receive restitution. Your bill, which I'm sorry to say was combined with another less thoughtful bill, would have done so without disrupting the careful balance struck by Congress in Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act of 1996. So I'm here today to remind lawmakers why Congress made the right decision in enacting Section 230 and to explain why a fairness doctrine for the internet would be an even worse idea than was a fairness doctrine for broadcasting. At recent hearings with Facebook's CEO, lawmakers repeatedly asked about Facebook's supposed political bias. As the president of a small nonprofit dedicated to free markets and constitutionally limited government and technology policy, I have never encountered such bias. Yes, we struggle to get our message out, but that's probably because our message is more complicated than the sensationalism coming from advocates for bigger government. We are, after all, lawyers and not activists.
I don't think people really understand. See, that's what I think. That's what I think is hilarious.
From what I can see after a decade in this field, their real problem is that they just don't.
What is the big deal?
And let's face it, the young
with
people
everybody hating Jews.
And reshare it most eagerly.
I really don't understand that. There's not a whole lot of them.
The fault of Facebook, Google, YouTube, or any.
You're worried about people. You're worried about them, but yet you've got people like this.
At the Zuckerberg hearing, I was dumbstruck to hear conservative senators call for what amounts to a fairness doctrine.
And all these senators.
First enacted in 1949,
stomping all over you, and you're worried about people that far away. You're worried about the wrong people, right? You got to get these people in line before you jump to the next fucking subject. These people directly can stop you in your tracks. This is your first threat, is these people here.
What conservatives still call the mainstream media and stifling alternative voices like talk radio.
But everybody's got, that's what I'm saying. There's a history for everybody and everything. You're focusing on one group that can't do shit to you. It's been thousands of years and motherfuckers still ain't done what they said they were going to do.
Yet now,
you're worrying about the wrong thing right now. I'll see the Jews telling me that I can't talk about this and that. I don't give a fuck what they do. They ain't affecting me the way I live right now.
There was another Republican, Congressman Chris Cox, who recognized that holding websites liable for content created by their users would have the perverse effect of discouraging websites from acting as good Samaritans. Section 230 avoids what has been called...
And you do realize everybody is related, correct? You do understand that.
Without increasing their legal risk. Facebook and other social media sites together employ literally tens of thousands of moderators to remove everything from sex trafficking ads to terrorist messages.
It's not just them doing that, man. That's what I'm saying. There's even white people pushing it.
Consider Canada, where website operators have no...
They also push, and it goes both ways. It goes both ways. It's a liberal agenda. That's what I'm saying. I ain't fucking with a goddamn individual. I'm fucking with a thought process and an ideology.
Anyone in this room
you fucking kill that, they don't matter. That's what I'm telling you. You're focusing on a group. You're not focusing on the black guy doing it. You're not focusing on the white guy doing it. You're not focusing on the Asian that's doing it, or none of that. You're focusing on a Jew. Fuck that. Focus on them all.
But only through the freedom.
That's how you take care of this shit. You can't sit here and limit what you're doing. Nobody sees shit like that.
A fairness doctrine for the internet.
Some liberals are Jews.
Today's tech giants. No, of course they won't like justify.
Some liberals are Jews.
Decisions in court.
Some are all, that's what I'm saying. They're fucking everywhere.
Sites, just as happened with broadcasting.
Ivanka's not a Jew, but she converted. So is she a Jew?
Arbitrary and open-ended.
She converted in religion. Does that make her a Jew?
Congress should avoid doing anything that will hinder competition online. And lawmakers should remember what the Supreme Court.
I've got a Jewish cousin more conservative than me.
In our constitutional constellation, it is that no official, high or petty, can prescribe what shall be orthodox in politics, nationalism, religion, or other matters of opinion. Unquote. The fairness doctrine would do just that. Prescribe orthodoxy. This tired idea should be left.
And this is where they're fucking up. They're trying to limit something that you're not legally allowed to limit. What you say and what you think. That's what they're trying to do here. Jews don't own. If that was the case, you wouldn't have what's going on in Israel.
Thank you for inviting me to testify today.
Israel got power?
And
I'm surprised.
Law School. My goal today is to help the committee understand Facebook's editorial role, the dangerous implications of a world without content moderation, and the serious privacy implications of allowing Facebook and other social media companies to exist in a regulatory void. We all may have a First Amendment right subject to some limitations.
Your First Amendment right has no limitations.
But we don't have a First Amendment right to Facebook's amplification of our words. So let's talk a little bit.
No, but we do have a right for Facebook not to censor what we put on a public platform.
We actually know quite a bit about what they do, partly because of the work of my colleague Kate Klonick, and also because Facebook published 27 pages of their moderation guidelines just a couple of days ago. First, how? Content moderation is a complex ecosystem of technology and people. Moderation sometimes happens before content is published, in that period between upload and publication.
Yeah.
This is the automatic process. Using data-trained algorithms that screen out things.
We'd go to war for Russia if someone tried to, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. It's fucking idiotic.
Happens after publication.
We went to war for Israel over the fucking Germans. What's the point? What's the difference?
Or reactively, when users flag violation content.
That's stunning rules. To even think that.
For this, Facebook employs a large layered team of people trained to do this work. Platforms have normative and financial.
We've defended Israel. We defend Israel. That's what we do.
Designs values into its.
No, they don't. I just fucking don't give a shit.
Bring friends together. As a result,
I really don't give a shit. If they need help and they're in the right, we'll fucking help them. What's the problem?
The platform redesigned its newsfeed to privilege, prioritize.
We give fucking weapons to everybody, so it's not like we're strictly for them. That's what I'm saying is fucking ridiculous. You're sitting here thinking, oh, it's them doing this. We're supporting everyone else that doesn't like him. We're supporting everyone that does like him.
When victims of racist, homophobic, and sexist tweets and comments post those comments to call out the aggressors,
it's war.
Victims that get suspended or banned. Activists associated with the Black Lives Matter movement.
I know, yeah. I mean, it's fucking war, dude. That's what we do.
Brutality and racism.
If you've been in these streams, you've heard me say it. It's the one thing white people are good at: destroying shit.
Mothers.
That's what we fucking do.
The company suspended drag performers for using their drag names. An advertisement for a book featuring a queer vision of Jesus was also rejected. The artist, Michael Stokes, who is best known for his portraits of soldiers wounded in battle, has seen his portraits of queer soldiers taken down and his account blocked. At a minimum, mistakes happen on the left just as they happen on the right. Consider also what social media platforms would look like without content moderation. Gendered cyber harassment proliferates when platforms like Twitter and 4chan do nothing. They become havens of hate that function to silence women and others' voices, as my colleague Danielle Citron has to say.
We tell people, oh, we're going after the bad guys, but if you check them ISIS fighters out, they're using our shit.
Like racist and transphobic profiles become havens for non-consensual pornography and cause untold emotional damage to victims. So why does this happen? Any content moderation that occurs algorithmically is subject to problems inherent in machine learning. Biased data, inability to understand context, for example.
I'm telling you, man, you just don't even realize just how everything is totally 100% connected.
All they know is that a herd
of highly motivated
users in tight, hyper-partisan networks are
everybody thinks like this. Nobody thinks like this.
Engagement is at the core of the business model. The problem is designed in. When humans act, maybe content moderation is more art than science, and Facebook doesn't employ enough Rembrandts. Mistakes happen. Those mistakes are far more likely, the evidence shows, to burden marginalized communities, not conservatives. Content moderation on Facebook is part of a larger narrative about how we lack even reasonable regulations, and thus allows Facebook to take a cavalier approach to our privacy, our safety, and our civic discourse. This was on stark display when Facebook allowed more than 87 million of its users to be accessed in violation of its terms of service. So although the evidence is not there to suggest systemic bias when it comes to content moderation,
the evidence is there. These people just don't want to look at it.
To its own devices, cares very little about the safety of our data. It only cares about collecting it. Reasonable steps must be taken to rein in Facebook's near unlimited power to violate our trust. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That's probably the smartest thing that dude said.
Welcome.
Thank you. Chairman Goodlad, Ranking Member Nadler, and members of the Judiciary Committee, thank you very much for inviting me to testify at today's hearing. My name is David Shavrin, and I'm the President and CEO of the News Media Alliance, a nonprofit trade association representing over 2,000 news organizations across the United States and the world. Our members include some of the largest organizations covering events around the globe, as well as local publications focusing on issues that impact communities and daily lives and citizens of every state.
There's sick-ass people like that everywhere.
Functioning democracy.
And it's not just Jews. Once again, it's not just Jews. You really need to stop with that.
In the broad term of digital content, it's actually much more important than that. While
this is what I'm talking about. I just said, people see like this. Nobody looks like this. You're looking like this.
Civil society
depends on
the availability of real, accurate news. The internet represents an extraordinary opportunity for broader understanding and education. We have never been more interconnected or had easier access to information or quicker communication. However, as currently structured, the digital ecosystem gives tremendous viewpoint control and economic power to a very small number
and you kind of sort of like, at least they use the pedophilia because they preach about it. That's fucking disgusting.
Newspapers controlled the distribution of their product. They invested in the journalism and then printed it in a form that could literally be handed to their readers directly. No other party decided who got access to the information or on what terms. The distribution of online news is now dominated by the major technology platforms. They decide what news is delivered and to whom, and they control the economics of digital publishing. The First Amendment prohibits the government from regulating the press, but it does not prohibit Facebook and Google from acting as de facto regulators of the news business. Neither Google nor Facebook are or have ever been neutral pipes. To the contrary, their businesses depend on their ability to make nuanced decisions through sophisticated algorithms about how and when content is delivered. The term algorithm itself makes these decisions seem scientific and neutral. The fact is that while their decision process may be highly automated, both companies make extensive editorial decisions about relevance, newsworthiness, and other criteria. The business models of Facebook and Google are complex and varied.
Don't need to. My eyes are wide open.
Immense advertising platforms that sell people's time and attention. Their secret algorithms, they are secret, are used
and whether you want to believe it or not,
time and attention.
You have a Jew lineage also.
Types of content favored by these systems, namely clickbait and any.
Everybody is related. That's why your DNA matches some of my DNA.
Systems also favor giving users information very similar to what they had previously consumed, thereby generating intense filter bubbles, undermining common understandings of issues and challenges. All of these things are antithetical, actually, to a healthy news business and a healthy democracy. Good journalism is factual, verified, and takes into account multiple points of view.
Let that guy talk for a minute.
It takes a lot of time and investment. Most particularly, it requires someone to take responsibility for what's published. Whether or not one agrees with a particular piece of journalism, my members at least put their names on the product and stand behind it. Readers know where to send their complaints. The same cannot be said about the sea of bad information that is delivered
but you see, you're defining it down to a specific group. When I say it,
honorable members of the
I apply it to everyone
on these issues to let them pass.
That's what I'm saying. Liberal
major technology
is a thought.
Are no longer
it's not a race. It's a thought.
The choices they make have
Remember
tremendous
that.
influence on the sustainability of the news business.
And I think
many
the
other
bigger
industries
conspiracy,
across
I
our
don't limit
economy.
it to an individual.
We offer no easy answers as to the ultimate regulation of these companies. In many ways, they present absolutely novel challenges to policymakers. However, with respect to the topic of today's hearing, a strong first step would be a simple acknowledgement of the immense filtering and decision-making power that both companies possess and exercise today. Neither company is neutral, and it's wrong to pretend they are. And from that flows a clear need for both companies to have enforceable standards on their algorithmic decision-making, particularly as to fairness and openness, and systems and policies that reward original quality information and content provided by trusted news organizations and professional journalists. With respect to the latter, we wish to express strong support for H.R. 5190, the Journalism Competition and Preservation Act of 2018, recently introduced by Representative David Cicilline. We believe this bill would go a long way.
Now, when I get done with this,
balances in the current system of content distribution.
when this video stops, I'll wait, go in and check, and I'll flag it because this is live.
Questioning under the 5-minute rule, and I'll begin by recognizing myself.
And I'm listening to it.
Ms. Richardson, thank you very much for your testimony. I'm sorry.
Even though you can't see it,
you've been through.
I'm listening to it. You can hear it. You're gonna listen. They'll kill me for this because even though this is public access shit I'm listening
also
to.
Been censored by social media.
Well, we're looking at people like Governor Sarah Palin, just a lot of people that's been censored.
Yes, even down to the President of the United States is being censored as well, with him having over 23 million people on his platform, unable to garner 1 million views on a video within an hour. Before the censoring, he was able to do that. Now he can't do that. So yeah, there's a lot of conservative voices that are being censored.
Do any of your friends or family or fans reach out to you when they tried to view your content but couldn't?
Oh, absolutely. We get tons of either emails. Go down the side of our Facebook page on our post. Okay, you all did not show up in my news feed. I can't find you all. Or I put you in search. I couldn't find you all. It took me a long time to find you all. You all are not coming up.
We also put out a video where somebody made a video where they tried to follow our page. And the way that Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook have their settings set, you can click on follow, but it defaults back to just standard. It wouldn't let people stay on follow. And then whenever you click on follow, to follow our page, for some people that was able to do so, they did not get a notification whenever we post our post on our Facebook page.
And can I just clarify, Facebook says, and they are ruling, that if you like and follow a page, that you're supposed to receive a notification whenever we drop content. What's the purpose of them following and liking a page? That's the purpose of them following and liking a branding page, because they're going to see and view your content. So it's not fair for Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg to think that they can dictate to people and tell people what they can and cannot see in their news feed. I thought this was a platform for all ideas.
Thank you. I think all of our witnesses have had very valuable testimony, and I agree with a great deal of it, Mr. Soka. I agree with you. We should not have a standard set for the internet like we used to have for broadcast.
Right, there are. And if you go through those secret societies, you will see that there are far less Jews in there than you think.
I'm most fascinated.
That's what I'm telling you. There's way more to think about, man. There's billions of people on this planet. And a very small group is trying to control all of them. And that very small group is not all just Jew. It's way more other stuff than Jew in there. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. You got to get off of that Jew shit. You got to get off of that. That's what limits what you try to say and do, because now you look like, oh, you're a racist and a bigot. No, that's what I'm saying. You get on here and talk that, your page will stay up for a little while. Then it'll disappear because now you've been labeled as some type of a racist, Jew, whatever. That's what they'll do to you. You think like this, you can include everyone and they can't say shit. Liberals.
Is responsible for the content that they host. Should the tech platforms be
conservatives
to the same content regulations and
Republicans, Democrats,
and libel and slander,
judges, lawyers, cops, attorneys.
Who produce the content
you see what I'm saying? You just get them all. They're all the exact same. They all have, it's a mind thought. It's a process. It goes. It's something up here today, right?
Media companies or the publishers.
I'm not a liberal. I'm not a conservative. I'm not none of that shit. I'm me. I am a human being, an individual with my own thought process,
I think we
with
all
the ability to make my own decisions as to what the fuck needs. You know what I'm saying? No, I don't need you. I don't have to identify with you as a group. I don't have to identify with you as a race. I'm a human fucking being.
Responsible for the power and decisions.
You're a human being.
How do we do that?
We'll start by the algorithm.
If we thought of everybody like that,
they determine. They sort of talk broadly about them, but nobody really knows what's in them. They are secret rules, and if you have secret rules, you don't get the benefit of the doubt. I think they have to start by being much more transparent about their decision making and actually having enforceable standards about that decision making, about things like fairness and openness. That's the first place to start, because that's what they do today, and you have to be responsible for what they can do today, and they're really not. They have rules that nobody knows what they are. They have impacts that we can only vaguely tease out. They have to be responsible for their moderation of
So should that come about by legislative action or by judicial decisions based upon breach of contract or libel or slander or?
I think, frankly, there are many ways to get there, but we're going to keep having hearings like this as long as nobody knows how the secret rules are being applied, right? If you have secret rules, you're always not going to get the benefit of the doubt. And we're going to have to either through legislation.
Oh, Hitler did nothing wrong.
Their own.
You're
actions,
insane.
Could be other options. Get to where there's much more transparency. About
that I will not have.
They're responsible for.
Hitler did nothing wrong. How can you say goodbye to free speech?
Quality content that is indicators of trust and not other kinds of content.
Even if you quell it, it will still happen because people will revolt and people will say, what the fuck? There are people like me that run around and don't give a shit.
Thank you.
We say, what the fuck? That's it.
Let me begin by clearing up one important item. The central thesis of this hearing seems to be that social media companies use complex algorithms to suppress conservative voices on the internet. Set aside for the moment whether or not you approve of filtering practices and content moderation generally. Mr. Waldman, yes or no? Is there any compelling evidence whatsoever to support the notion that Facebook, Twitter, or Google intentionally suppress conservative content on their platforms?
No.
Thank you. Mr. Chavin, I hear your concerns about the effect of content filtering on the news media, but yes or no? Do you have any evidence that Facebook, Twitter, or Google intentionally suppress conservative content?
We have not looked at. I have not analyzed.
The answer is no.
No.
Thank you, Mr. Soka. You represent an organization that represents.
He will get slammed when he goes dominant silk.
Yes or no? Do you have any evidence that Facebook, Twitter, or Google intentionally suppress conservative voices on the internet in particular?
No, Congressman.
No. Thank you.
We'll all be gone.
Absent any evidence on this front, let's move on. I would like this panel's help with the subject matter of this committee.
He didn't ask Diamond and Silk.
Mr. Waldman, earlier this week, we
it won't be.
And
it's way less than 100 years.
According to Mr. Wiley, SCL Group, a British company,
all this shit will come to an end in probably 40 years before we die.
What Steve Bannon called a propaganda machine in the service of Mr. Bannon, the Mercer family, and eventually candidate Donald Trump. That propaganda was built in large part on information that came.
I think it's amazing. This guy won't even talk to Diamond and Silk. He won't even admonish that they're there because he doesn't like them because they're conservatives.
But the majority didn't even send staff to listen to Mr.
He don't think they have any business being there is what it is.
Mr. Waldman, what does Cambridge Analytica tell us about Facebook's privacy policies, and why should this committee prioritize those issues?
Cambridge Analytica's ability to access 87 million information on 87 million shows us that Facebook doesn't really care about our privacy. What allowed Cambridge Analytica to access that information was that the quiz, the psychological quiz, allowed the designer to scrape information through Facebook.
Who did he deem was going extinct?
The only reason why that exact situation, the exact Cambridge Analytica situation, can't reoccur today is because.
Who did he think was going extinct?
To stop third-party apps from allowing them to scrape information that way. So that shows us that we are entirely at the mercy of Facebook's
Right.
good graces.
That's what I'm saying.
If they're going to allow this, or
there's certain things you can't say, and that's where this comes in. That's what I'm saying.
Facebook to exist in kind of a
void, as I mentioned. There's no way we were going extinct. You have to breed us out.
Thank you.
And the problem is white people feel threatened, they'll stand the fuck up and do some shit. That's what nobody's really paying attention to.
Unauthorized third parties acquiring user data for commercial, political, and nefarious purposes.
Well, I think we have to start at Facebook actually enforcing its rules. We learned shortly after the Cambridge Analytica fiasco
this country here isn't even mentioned in the Bible.
Where people are supposed to check up.
We are not even mentioned in the Bible. We don't even exist.
Third-party applications.
So
there's an entire team about it. One of the former employees wrote an op-ed, I believe, in the Washington Post that described, yeah, this was my job, but I was told that I really shouldn't be walking through.
We're not mentioned because when this place falls, everything else is going to go.
Call someone up and say, hey, are you using this data in the wrong way? And then never followed up. So at first, we have to make sure that Facebook.
Yeah, but he did. But look what he did. He went after one specific group. Is exactly what he did.
Looking back at the election in 2016, the Russian disinformation campaign may have reached over.
Where would it have been okay if he would have thought just the Jews were all the way? Then he would have went to who? The Africans. Then he would have went to the Japanese and the Chinese. You see what I'm saying? That's why I'm saying that's not. That's how that would have went.
They take the subject matter seriously.
He wanted world domination, which everybody had to go.
Counsel's office for a conspiracy to defraud the United States. The conspiracy at the heart of the special counsel's work spent an estimated $100,000 on Facebook ads. What information does this committee need from Facebook in order to determine the impact and reach of that ad by quickly, if you could, because my time is running out.
Sure. We need what money was spent, where the money came from, what companies were involved and what banks were involved, the way they were targeted, the algorithms used, and how that information was processed.
Okay. I have one final question of a more general nature, again to Professor Waldman. Everybody here, Mr. Soka, Professor Waldman, Mr. Chapman, has said there's no evidence that they've seen that Facebook intentionally discriminated against conservative views. But let's assume they had. Facebook is a private company. Sinclair discriminates against liberals.
They were in here because they didn't have their own country.
Difference in principle? Should we permit? Let's assume we decide.
And now you have, and here it is. Now you have the Mexicans and everybody else coming across our border doing the exact same thing that the Jews were doing, and all we want to do is put up a wall and kick out those that are here, and that's a fucking problem.
That's what companies that
You see what I'm saying? That's all that had to been done, and he didn't do that. That's why that's fucking wrong. That's why you don't do that shit.
I'm not sure that it is.
That's because he thought one way.
Committee's role to say that
he didn't think like that.
X amount of voices from the conservative side and X amount of voices from the liberal side.
Congressman, I think I've made clear that I think the fairness doctrine in whatever context is a terrible idea. The government has no business policing speech, period. But I do want to emphasize, Congressman Blackburn...
Yeah, he was. That's exactly...
There are certain...
He was taking them over. What do you think he was doing? That's exactly what he was doing.
Scrutiny only because the Supreme Court has refused to grant full first...
Remember how much shit he fucking walked into and took over?
Decision, Red Lion from 1969...
For no reason.
Outdated. But I just want to emphasize that we run into a real danger in these discussions.
He was concerned about Germany. He should have fucking dealt with just Germany. He didn't. He decided he was taking France, Poland, everything. That's where that motherfucker fucked up. Putin's doing it right now. Mexico's trying to do it with people instead of politics. Putin's doing it with military might. That's fucking insane.
If brought in court when applied to the...
Everybody's trying that shit their own certain way.
Thank you. Without objection, I'd like to submit two publications for the record. One is Censored, How Online Media Companies Are Suppressing Conservative Speech by the Media Research Center, and the other is an op-ed by Patricia Onwuka in The Hill, titled Diamond and Silk Offer Chance for Bipartisan Pushback on Social Media Censorship, which it notes that in 2016, a coalition of over 40 left-leaning groups called on Zuckerberg to ensure that Facebook implements an anti-censorship policy that honors and respects Black lives. And in 2017, over 70 social justice groups wrote to Zuckerberg, again calling out the consistent and disproportionate censorship of Facebook users of color. Without objection, they will be made a part of the record. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Smith, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I don't have any questions, but I do have a statement that's really addressed to the missing panel, and you have to wonder, what were they afraid of? Mr. Chairman, the censorship of conservative voices by social media has become more frequent and the consequences more serious. Social media companies have repeatedly censored, removed, or shadow banned conservative journalists, news organizations, and media outlets that do not adhere to their political views. Google's new fact-checking feature appears to target conservative websites. Several conservative-leaning outlets, such as the Daily Caller, are routinely vetted by Google for their content. Equally partisan sites, such as Vox, the Huffington Post, Daily Kos, Mother Jones, and other left-wing outlets and blogs are not given the same treatment.
They're just let the run loose.
Twitter censored a Drudge Report tweet of the 2020.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. And I even told people, there's no such, there's nothing, there's no one on this planet is strictly 100% this.
Examples in the future. Facebook recently announced this month.
Everybody has something else in them.
Share of the news feed from 5%.
There's no pure race on this planet.
Facebook would boost certain trusted news outlets and suppress other less trustworthy sources. The term trustworthy is defined by Facebook, of course. A tech website, The Outline, found that the algorithm changes implemented by Facebook have disproportionately harmed conservative publishers on its social media platform. They're getting fewer readers, while their liberal counterparts have not been impacted to the same degree. And who are making these decisions? The Media Research Center found that liberal Twitter advisors outnumber conservatives 12-1. 12 U.S. members of Twitter's Trust and Safety Council, which helps guide...
Exactly. That's because somebody who thinks like that can't never get into an office and espouse them views.
Also alarming are the guidelines being written by these companies.
I tell everybody all the time, man, when you realize that religion, politics, all that shit is all intertwined,
community standards,
you'll have a better understanding of what the world's like.
And what is prohibited. Define these terms for
everybody lies to you.
The Media Research Center has outlined...
It's very rare that someone come out here and tell you exactly what the fuck.
Conservatives. For example, expressions of contempt, such as "I oppose gay marriage," could put social conservatives at risk.
Yep.
These new guidelines appear to protect illegal immigrants. Saying illegal immigrants should return to their country of origin would result in a violation of guidelines on Facebook. And if someone called an illegal immigrant who has not paid taxes but gets government benefits a free rider, that would be considered hate speech, according to Facebook.
And that's exactly what they do.
In a 2017 Gallup poll, almost 60% of Americans are worried about the problem of illegal immigration. So if those Americans were to post their concerns on Facebook...
There would be no power struggle if everybody just minded their own goddamn business and helped out their fellow man.
Censored under Facebook's guidelines. As private companies, social media can censor or suppress...
And that would involve...
That's their First Amendment right to freedom of speech. But they should be held accountable.
Oh, no. Yeah, well, them fighting... Yeah, they would. Because people on the right...
The social media companies...
It would get even worse because they would see that, okay, well, now we have a threat. The simple fact that Donald Trump was a threat is what did this to him.
The biased media. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'll yield back.
Yeah, they do. I'm telling you, the next liberal that gets into the presidency, we're fucked.
Mr. Chairman. I think there are important issues to be examined.
The next Democrat that gets into office is going to fuck over anyone that doesn't think like them. That's exactly what's going to happen.
Is really one of them. But I do have a question, and I don't know whether you, Professor Waldman, or Mr. Zoga are the right...
They won't even talk to Diamond and Silk.
...to answer.
And that's because we have the three branches, and that's because everybody in power is tied to this, except for Trump. If you've got this, they'll listen to you. If you don't have this, fuck you. You ain't shit. You're just a fucking commodity. We're going to use you to make more money.
And the question is, what jurisdiction, if any...
Remember, let no crisis go on. You know what I'm saying?
Essentially,
they even said it. That's a liberal thought. You can't let a good crisis go to waste.
I'm not sure that
you don't solve the problem, you exasperate
it. But it occurred to me that all of the social media platforms have value based on their reach. And if, for example, you have a 2 billion person follower, but 40% of them aren't real, that is an issue that relates to your stock value, and really is a misrepresentation of value to investors. I wonder if you have thoughts on how we might either regulate or work with social platforms to reduce or eliminate false persona or bots on social platforms.
Congressman, thank you for the question. I just want
These people aren't even talking about censorship. They're talking about fucking how do we keep making money with these platforms.
We'll note that Facebook and Twitter have chosen very different approaches, and that to me is the free market at work. Facebook is a community where everyone is supposed to use their real name.
Oh, if she was president, dude, you'd have World War III going. We would have some civil war happening right now.
I'm talking about.
We would be having a civil war right now because they would be out taking people's guns, trying to. There would be a war on the streets right now.
But 500 million don't exist.
If you were conservative, I guarantee you they would make you register like they did with Jews and then take away your rights to do anything. It's the only way they can keep power at this point.
From a real person. You know, the old joke that on the internet no one knows you're a dog. You could also say no one knows you're a bot. It's not easy to identify those accounts, and the more we pressure those companies to do that, the more we put them in a position of being accused of censorship, because they will inevitably make mistakes. So, of course, there are things that they could be doing, but this is a difficult technological problem, and I'm frankly very uncomfortable with the idea that the government, whether it's through the SEC, which indeed has started sending letters to companies, they sent one to Yahoo yesterday about a failure to notify its investors about a data breach. There are many
data breach is a very different issue. My time's almost up. I want to let Professor Waldman, who looks like he has something to say on it,
Thank you,
also to comment.
I remember that cartoon, and the internet is a lot more mature today.
Actually, everyone knows you're a dog, so.
The internet is a lot more mature today. The technology is a lot better today. I take the example, I think there is a role for regulatory agencies like the FTC to play, but we can also take the example of now Senator, but then Attorney General Kamala Harris in California, who recognized issues with the technology companies that she had a responsibility to regulate, got them in a room together and decided these are the tools that we need to work together on. We need to make sure that gendered cyber harassment is not
that's what I try to tell you, man. Listen to these people.
And together, using
these people in government,
AG enforcement under California.
You listen to this. They have no idea what they're doing. They're asking for people to tell us how to do this. They have no idea what they're doing.
Use technology,
and they're going to make decisions on stuff they know nothing about.
Let's try to first work with technology companies.
Well,
that's what I've been saying.
Yeah,
so, this is not a new concept to me, but the real question,
new concept
I guess,
to me.
is in terms. I don't think it's that difficult to identify bots. Honestly, I mean, maybe at some future date people will become more creative and it will be more difficult, but it's not so difficult now. And the question is, what is the standard of knowledge for the companies, especially publicly traded companies, and what is their liability exposure in terms of securities? And maybe we need a securities law expert to help answer that.
These people are fucking stupid.
Chairman, I yield back.
We need help answering that. Why the fuck are you making decisions on shit you don't know about?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'll go to Ms. Hardaway and Ms. Richardson, I think better known as Diamond and Spice, first, if I can. The Diamond and Silk, my apologies. Hopefully I get the rest of it right.
Okay.
Mr. Nadler introduced and asked the other three gentlemen about whether there was any evidence of Facebook or others blocking conservatives, and they indicated no, they didn't really have anything. But he didn't ask you those questions, and it's my understanding
right.
You have personal knowledge of this, in fact, experienced this yourselves, being blocked because it actually happened to you. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. And buried
tell you the truth,
in the
Anderson,
settings of Facebook. There is
I'll still be alive when everything goes to hell.
Which Facebook labels.
You'll actually look back at this time like, man, it was actually better then than it is now.
Very conservative. Our personal Facebook account have been labeled very liberal, thus meaning that anybody that is advertising or want to advertise, that's the only type of advertisement that we will see on our Facebook page. So if you are in a conservative and you're advertising as a conservative, your reach will not be far. The reason being is because there are individual Facebook pages that have been labeled as very liberal. Now, with this particular setting, we cannot change it, we cannot correct it, we cannot update it. This has been a default setting set by Facebook on individual personal pages. With that setting set, if you cannot change it, then guess what?
It won't
Facebook
be. It'll take 7 years.
All right, let me move on if I can. It's my understanding that
be watching. It's coming. We'll know
a whole lot of different things, and one of those is President Trump, is my understanding.
Yes,
and I think in general, you tend to agree with and agree with some of his policies, and have been generally pro-President Trump. Is that accurate?
We love our president. We love his agenda. We love this country.
And others have found fault with that, is my understanding. You've been criticized by some for that point of view. Is that correct?
But that's their problem, not ours. Because this is our platform.
That's right. We do not solicit our page to them.
Right.
They come to our page. And there are something called troll farms. When people come to our page and deliberately and they thumb down our page, Facebook have a mechanism sitting there that when you thumb down our page, you come to our page deliberately, thumb it down, then there's an algorithm that's put in place where if you get too many thumb downs, now your page is restricted, blocked, your post.
You don't even need the thumbs to do that. I don't post. I have a Facebook. I just don't use it.
Right. And do you think it's unsafe
well, I do use
hate speech
but not like
to offer a positive view of our president?
Excuse me?
Do you think some people, certainly you don't think that it's unsafe or hate speech to be positive about the president, right?
It is not unsafe, or is it hate speech to love this country and love and stand behind the president of the United States. When Obama was in office, if we had to get behind him, why not get behind this president right here?
Yeah, let me follow up. And then some other things that you've talked about, I think, that you believe that we should control our borders. As a country, we have the right to do
Absolutely. Don't you?
Yep.
And displace control. When I came up here today, security had to check us out. We just couldn't walk up in here. Don't you secure your house? The border should be secure.
And another thing, if illegal aliens have a right to, don't have a right, but if illegal aliens can come here to America and obtain the American dream, why can't Diamond and Silk?
That's right.
Very good. And some other things that you discuss, my understanding is things like protecting the unborn. Is that something that you've discussed in the past, that you think that we ought to protect those that have a right to have life? Is that something that
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and first of all, those are our beliefs. And we have a right to those beliefs. What's wrong with the way we believe? Why is it now in this country, whatever used to be right is wrong, and what's wrong now is right? If I have a belief, that's my belief. But nobody have a right to censor my free speech. Nobody has a right to do it. And to maliciously and deliberately do it is what really irritates me. It just irritates me.
Very good. Thank you. I'll yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Chair, thanks, gentlemen. Recognize the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Johnson, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We could be here for a lot of reasons this morning. We could be looking into the manipulation of Facebook by the Russians to help Donald Trump get elected. We could be looking into the Russian interference with the presidential election. We could be looking at Russian hacking into state election processes. We could be talking about in this committee legislation to protect the Mueller investigation. None of those areas has this committee been involved with during the last,
Exactly, but you hear what these people, look, that's not what they're here for.
Months that we've been
but we're going to worry about these American women that are getting censored over what they say, and gun control.
The DREAM Act.
This guy's a piece of shit.
No hearings whatsoever.
This
what we are
right
dealing
here
with today,
is what is the
we're
threat.
getting
This is what I'm telling you. This is what is the threat.
Diamond and Silk.
Listen to this man.
And you ladies are very impressive to me. You have taken.
He's going to belittle him here in a
and
second.
You have moved forward with it, exercising your First Amendment rights, and you've made a ton of money off of Facebook. Isn't that correct?
Absolutely not, because Facebook censored us for
Donald
6
Trump,
months.
Now, Donald Trump introduced you all at a rally last year, and he introduced y'all saying that you were very popular and you had made a ton of money based on your affiliation with him. Isn't that correct?
Let me tell you what he was doing. He was calling those things that was not as though they were, is what he was doing then. But let me tell you something.
He has given you.
But Facebook censored us for 6 months.
Hold on one second, ma'am. The point I'm trying to make is
he's sitting here belittling these two.
Facebook, and you've been making a ton of money. Isn't that correct?
No.
You've
Wait
not
a minute, hold on. Unsafe to the community.
You've not been making a ton of money based on your bashing of Facebook?
No. We didn't bash Facebook. What we did was we brought it to the light on how Facebook has been censoring conservative voices like ourselves for 6 months, 29 days, 5 hours, 43 minutes, and 40 seconds. That's what they did.
Now, I can't tell you something.
Have you been making money? Have you been monetizing?
They won't let us monetize on Facebook.
So you haven't
they stopped it for 6 months, 29 days.
So they've been messing with your money then.
Exactly.
They limited our pages. What they did,
and YouTube did also by demonetizing 95% of our videos for no reason at all, deeming it as hate speech. However, allow me to say
that selling merchandise on the.
Well, even if we sell merchandise, that don't have anything to do with Facebook. Facebook censored our free speech, and shame on the ones that don't even see that we have been censored. Yet, when the Black Lives Matter people complain about it, oh, everybody is up in arms. Let me just say this here. If the shoe was on the other foot and Mark Zuckerberg was a conservative and we were liberals, oh, all fences and all chains would have broke loose. You know it and I know it. But what I find appalling is that these Democrats, they don't want to take up for our voice.
Democrats would be in the street. Democrats would be in the street right now marching and calling him all type of racist.
I'd like to give you a little bit more time. I'd like to give you a little bit more time, but I've got to move on. Only got a minute left.
Okay.
But I appreciate you all for your entrepreneurial spirit. And we're giving you we're giving you a tremendous platform with this hearing to make a ton of money when it's over.
That's right. And I hope everybody on Facebook can follow us.
And yes, that's right. That's right. Because that's what it's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about obtaining the American dream. We are African American women. If illegal aliens can come over here and build businesses, why can't we? And we were born on this soil. Oh, you don't have a right to silence my voice.
Well, now I've always heard though that diamonds are great.
They are, and they hard too. And if I got to be hard with you, I will. You're not going to brush us off and dismiss us like we don't have merit here. These people censored us for no reason. They put limitations on our page for no reason, and that was wrong.
But rather than diamonds, you're seeking money on Facebook. Isn't that correct?
Well, you know what? If Facebook is a platform for you to make money, then so be it. Everybody else do it.
And don't stop us from making it.
And don't make us feel guilty because we and other people that's built their brand page want to make money. We've spent plenty of money.
I'm with you on that.
No, he's not.
Astounded that this committee would stoop to this level to be
that's exactly what he's saying.
We really thank the committee for allowing us to the light, for little voices like us. Little voices like us.
Because it wasn't you, we didn't do it.
The time of the gentleman has expired. I thank the exchange. The gentleman asked the questions, the ladies answered his questions. And the chair now recognizes.
I thank the chairman.
The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Iowa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me see. I'd almost tempted to yield my time back to Mr. Johnson, but instead, before I forget, I have some documents I'd like to ask consent to enter into the record. The first one is from Mr. Jim Hoft of the Gateway Pundit, St. Louis. And he's the one who I think initiated the beginnings of this hearing today. He has taken a pretty hard hit himself in multiple different ways. And I've watched as his views have gone from been dropped down from 33%. Facebook page was 33% of the overall views, down to 3%.
That's right.
1/11th of what it was. That would be evidence of censorship, in my opinion. A number of other comments in there that I'd like to introduce that into the record, along with a Christian publisher says Google banned it over faith we express, which illustrates that quoting the Bible can get you censored in this country. And there are multiple charts here delivered by a Gateway Pundit of other, here's Gateway Pundit's traffic, here's the President's traffic, which the gentleladies expressed in their testimony, the Young Conservatives traffic, which went from around 5.75 million down to essentially nothing, and in a similar period of time, multiple other sites, conservative sites, all of them, the graphics and the charts, it's the best material out here that quantifies this impact, I think, produced by Mr. Jim Hoft. And I hope that one day he can come and testify before this Congress as well, because my private conversation with him has been very powerful, and I ask unanimous consent to introduce these documents into the record. In hearing no objection. Objection be made part of the sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And now, where do I go with this? My first thoughts are this, that I'm thinking about a situation like Jim Hoft and Gateway Pundit, the fourth most influential conservative pundit throughout the last election cycle, watching his traffic be cut to 1/11th of what it was just on Facebook alone. Yeah. And I don't see that Jim Hoft has as much television presence, perhaps, as our Diamond and Silk have. So I wanted to ask you, Ms. Hardaway, or you, Ms. Richardson, if you didn't have a spot on Fox News, if you had to rely on just watching your traffic go down on YouTube and on Facebook and on Twitter and wherever else, would you have a chance to have a voice to express this, or could it be that because you had another outlet, this issue came up far enough that now America's watching?
Absolutely. Because we had another outlet, because certain Republicans spoke out about it and took up for the little voices like ourselves, is how this came to light. If not, when they deemed us unsafe to the community, it would have been that. They told us we couldn't appeal it, we would have been out. And this is what happened oftentimes with people in our country, particularly minorities, where these big giants, they take and they put their feet on your neck. They pull the rug right up from under you and then dare you to move. You know, they tell us to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. But how can we do that when they take those same straps and use them to hang us out to dry? That is not fair, and that's got to stop in this country. And it stops today.
With everybody.
You know, I really appreciate the way you look at the American dream. I want my right to earn the American dream.
That's right. That's right.
And is there any difference in your mind between, say, Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, those, we'll call them utilities, not necessarily public utilities, but utilities? Is there any difference between them and, let's say, UPS and FedEx? If you're making your living selling things and shipping it out on FedEx, is that any different than it is making your living by pitching a message out through Facebook?
Absolutely, because listen, they have these platforms to have it where you can monetize. You can make money off of these platforms. So if you're building your brand and you're pumping money into building your brand, it is not fair for somebody to change the rules in the middle of the game. And I think that's what's happening with the American people, some of them. You change the rules in the middle of the game and then people are left out to dry. That's not fair.
Let me clarify this question. What if you're producing a product, and maybe it's home little garage factory or a larger factory, and you're shipping that product out on FedEx, and FedEx decides you're conservative, so we're not going to deliver your product to your customers. Is there a difference between what's going on with Facebook and what would be going on under that circumstance?
Well, that would be, to me, discrimination.
Yeah, it's on both discrimination on both
sides. And listen, wait a minute. This is for all voices. No voices should be censored.
None.
And this could be bipartisan. I don't care if you're on the left or the right. The deal is that no voices should be silenced, and you should not be discriminating. If it's a platform to express all ideas, express all ideas, not just one side. That's not right. Just put it where it's one-sided, where I'm just seeing liberal group views, where you have my account deemed liberal when I'm very conservative. I am a Republican, but you don't have that up there. And why are you making those decisions for me? Why didn't you give us the opportunity to put in what we are, our political affiliation? And what does our political affiliation have to do with Facebook? Just think about that.
I want to let you know that I tweeted you out to see if you were blocked on mine, and you're still alive on my Twitter. So thank you very much. Appreciate your testimony. I yield back.
Would the gentleman yield?
I would yield.
Unfortunately, that's what everybody understands. See, that's the thing. It doesn't matter
if these three companies.
You understand what they're saying, though.
Explain themselves.
Literacy.
And their policies.
There's people who can talk.
To people
intelligent can't express themselves.
I put in the record liberal organizations that were concerned about this too. They set themselves up as a platform. They need to promote free speech, not stifle it.
Right.
Did the gentleman yield for a second?
Yes, the gentleman controls time, but I'll yield him.
I yield to you.
Thank you. I just want to point out one thing. Ms. Hardaway and Ms. Richardson have had interesting testimony about their interactions with Facebook, and maybe Facebook has treated them unfairly, and maybe not. I don't know. But that doesn't establish a pattern, which is the subject of the hearing. Every one of our other witnesses has said there is no evidence that Facebook is discriminating against conservative views in any way. There may be liberal people who have had the same types of problems or not. And I have sympathy for our two witnesses, Ms. Hardaway.
He has no sympathy because he wouldn't even talk to
them. But the basic thing is here, no pattern has been established showing anything at all other than...
And that is called propaganda.
Have had a problem with Facebook.
That
maybe Facebook for some
propaganda
reason, whatever. But in any event, no
should be a crime.
Tell me my time.
You shouldn't be able...
The documents
Charlie Manson is sitting in prison because he said things and influenced people.
The gentleman has expired.
That's the exact same thing the media does.
Chairman, thank you.
Put them in prison with Charlie Manson.
Let me also acknowledge my commitment to the First Amendment for all of the witnesses that are here. And our pointed question...
Here comes another liberal woman. She's fucking dumb. This woman's going to fuck up. If she talks to Dominant Silk, she's going to get her ass chewed.
And we need to address it fairly. And we also need to get the facts. Before I do that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to pause on
Ms. Jackson Lee.
I'd like to acknowledge Takala Ann Allen and Madison, who take your daughters to Congress, and I think I see Ms. Husband with a young lady here in the back, and I want them to stand, and I want to acknowledge that this is Madison's birthday. Ladies, stand up. I know you can't hear me. There you are, 13, and you stand up too. Thank you. Thank you so very much. I couldn't imagine a better place for them to view democracy. You may be seated. This is democracy in the Judiciary Committee meeting room. Let me...
Will my colleague yield for just 1 second? I'd like to introduce my daughter as well.
I'd be happy to yield. Mr. Chairman, are you pausing on my time, please? I need to... She wants me to yield for her to introduce her daughter.
Oh, so, yeah, I won't count against your time.
Okay. But
Tatiana, stand up from Philadelphia. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be happy. In any event, I think it is important to know
that woman is a Republican.
There is a question
with a black daughter
as to establish
she adopted, and she wouldn't recognize that woman's, and she probably knew about it, but she wouldn't talk about it.
And I don't view this hearing as particularly important.
And then we said, "Oh yeah, whatever."
Take note of the fact, Mr. Chairman, that
she dismissed her.
The Senate has just passed out of committee the special counsel legislation, of which it would be appropriate for us to hold a hearing on the special counsel legislation to protect special counsel Mueller. That is, in fact, a bipartisan bill with a number of Republicans on it. So I hope, and let me make a formal request that we do so and mark up that bill that has been introduced by Mr. Nadler.
This bitch is just
killing time. I'd also like to introduce into the record articles from Ms. Hardaway and Ms. Richard dealing with expressions of dismay or disagreement with a number of entities, asked unanimous consent to introduce exclusive diamond silk crash Hillary Clinton's race baiting. She is not our slave master. Diamond Silk criticized Michelle Obama, and then, of course, a message for Oprah. Ask unanimous consent to put these in the record. Thank you. And I
seen
think that
those.
is
Those were
clear
good.
that there is a First Amendment protection that you all deserve, as I deserve it, the witnesses deserve it. So let me pose these questions. Ms. Hardaway.
Ms. Jackson Lee's gonna get fucked up.
Paid by the Trump campaign?
No. We've never been paid by the Trump campaign.
You've never been paid by the Trump campaign?
We have never been paid by the Trump campaign.
Not $5, not $100.
We have never been paid. We have never been paid by the Trump campaign.
Let me ask a specific question. $1,274.94.
We have never
been paid. Ms. Hardaway, my understanding is that you received the now infamous email from Facebook, the email calling your space page unsafe on April 8th, 2018?
No. That was not April the 8th.
Oh, shit. Oh.
Making power that both companies possess and exercise today.
Wrote to Zuckerberg, again calling out the consistent and disproportionate.
Like racist and transphobic profiles become havens.
It is not fair for somebody to change the rules in the middle of the game.
And I don't know if that's true.
On the 12th via Twitter. And when we looked in our verifies, there.
Record?
Okay, here we go.
Thank you. And I think that is clear that there is a First Amendment protection that you all deserve, as I deserve it.
Don't drink.
Witnesses deserve it. So let me pose these questions. Ms. Hardaway, have you ever been paid by the Trump campaign?
No. We've never been paid by the Trump campaign.
Should be end of it.
You've never been paid by the Trump campaign.
We have never been paid by the Trump campaign.
Not $5, not $100.
We have never
been
paid. We have never been paid by the Trump campaign.
Let me ask a specific question. $1,274.94.
We have never been paid.
Ms. Hardaway, my understanding is that you received
trying to get him for lying.
Email from Facebook, the email calling your space page unsafe on April 8th, 2018?
No. That was not April the 8th. We received that on April the 5th, 2018.
Now on April 11th, you appeared on the Ingram Angle on Fox News to discuss this matter. The host, Laura Ingram, asked, did you get contacted by Facebook, and has this been reversed? Have you been contacted by Facebook?
We was contacted via Twitter on April the 12th.
You responded, we have not been in communication with Facebook. We have not been contacted. We have not spoken to anyone over the phone.
That's true. We hadn't been in contact with them. We haven't spoken to anyone over the phone.
Right. They said it was in direct communications with us, and we had not been in direct communication.
Did you, on that show, say that you were not contacted?
We were not contacted. We was contacted on the 12th. We was contacted on the 12th via Twitter.
All right. So are you saying that you did not lie on that show, or you did lie?
We did not lie on that show. We did that show on the 11th. We was contacted by Twitter on the 12th, by Facebook on the 12th via Twitter. And when we looked in our verifies, there they were.
Is it your testimony today that as of April 11th, when you went on Ms. Ingram's show and said that Mr. Zuckerberg had lied about trying to contact you, that Facebook never reached out to you or Ms. Richardson about this issue?
Mark Zuckerberg said that they was in direct communication with us. That, like they had spoken to us. They did not do that.
Did you get information from Zuckerberg or Facebook?
No.
Any means of communication?
No.
You just said you got it through Twitter.
We got it through Twitter on the 12th, on April the 12th.
This bitch is dumb as fuck.
Hold on a moment. Miss Jackson, don't try to mince my words. Let me explain to you this here. April the 5th, 2018. They took and they deemed us unsafe to the community and told us it wasn't appealable. That was April the 12th is when
I am the one asking questions. You're in a judicial committee hearing, and I respect you, and you're going to respect me. Now, my question is, have you gotten contact from Facebook? And Ms. Richardson may want to answer it. Have you?
No.
All right. And you're saying under oath that you did not. And so the Twitter is not communication?
The way you're asking that question is a little confusing. No, you're asking that question and you're missing words right here.
Have you gotten any communication from Facebook?
On April the 12th. Via Twitter.
And what mode was that?
That was via Twitter.
All right. So, and you got information. So
Liberal
your
black
testimony
woman.
that you did not is not truthful.
That is truthful.
Let me move on to Professor Wallman.
Time of the gentlelady is expired.
I asked that my introduction of my two young ladies not be attributable to my time.
How you use your time is yours, and that did count on your time.
That is not the case. Professor Wallman, I'd like you to answer this question.
Time of the gentlelady is expired.
If Facebook attempts to answer the question or respond,
is
that legitimate that Facebook
can in fact
is that legitimate that Facebook
can in fact
be held to
We're going to get through all the witnesses. We have to observe
problem.
these time guidelines. We can't give everybody
Mr. Chairman,
2 extra minutes.
I asked for the chairman to have gotten out of the seat when he said yes, and the staff is standing here and they need to be able to speak up. I want this question answered by Mr. Wallman.
Thank you, madam.
Mr. Wallman,
the gentlelady has expired. There may be.
He shut her the fuck up because she disrespected them two girls and she's going to get mad about it.
Time of the gentlelady has
Facebook has
expired.
an opportunity to make those decisions for its own.
This time we'll recognize
They don't do it
Mr.
in
Biggs
bias
for
way.
5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Wallman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Liberals are motherfucking bitches.
I want to make clear, I keep hearing the Democrats say that all 3 of the male witnesses have testified that they have seen no evidence of any kind of bias against conservative thought on these platforms. That's true, I think, with Mr. Zucka and Professor Waldman. Mr. Chavrin indicated, I think, that he had not indicated...
We had not examined the question.
He had not examined the question. So that to me is a kind of a misrepresentation that we've heard consistently from our friends across the aisle all hearing. So thank you for clarifying that, Mr. Chavrin. I also want to add some additional information with regard to what we've seen here today. There are other reported instances.
Exactly.
Diamond and Silks. I appreciate all 5 of you being here today.
This is why people hate the government. This is exactly why people hate the government.
That they noticed that one day their Facebook advertisements promoting the sale of American flags had been removed.
Mm-hmm.
And after reaching out to Facebook, they noticed that all of their advertising capabilities had also been made unavailable. This is a problem, and Facebook provided their indication that anything that linking to sales of firearms would be blocked henceforth.
Now this bitch, Jackson Lee, will try and bring these 2 up on charges for lying to Congress, even though they didn't, and she just don't want to fucking hear it. She's trying to fucking stifle what they do. That's exactly what this bitch is going to do. She's going to try. She already said, "Oh, you lied." And no. The show was on the 11th. We didn't get anything till the 12th. So no, we had not been contacted up to that point. And
some work done.
We're in constant communication. No, they're not.
Other researchers who have indicated that
this is why I tell everybody what I tell you. This is why I tell you, man.
Adults use Facebook.
Your government's out to fucking get you, dude.
They have
one side or the other is out to get you.
When they changed their platform, we saw from January 2018 a steady
Republicans do it with war.
Biggest publishers on
Democrats.
Facebook. They moved from many of the conservative.
And she didn't even want to fucking hear it. This is the problem. This is why people say the stuff they say. This is why
consistently post change further down that list. Now, I don't think anybody's isolated the variables necessarily to say that the audience may have changed, but it does provide some correlative indicia that the result of that algorithmic change by Facebook impacted the dissemination of conservative thought and ideas, and that is what we're trying to get at today. We're not trying to get into the issue of privacy. That's been going on in other issues, and that's an issue that we can take care of as well. George Upper, the executive editor of Western Journal, has said this algorithm change, intentional or not, has in effect censored conservative viewpoints on the largest social media platform in the world. This change has ramifications that in the short term are causing conservative publishers to downsize or fold up completely and in the long term could swing elections in the United States and around the world toward liberal politicians and policies. Mark Zuckerberg said that we've rolled out a number of changes to newsfeed that try to boost in the ranking broadly trusted news sources. The one thing that's interesting here is he doesn't indicate his definition of broadly trusted news sources until he gets to this, Wall Street Journal or New York Times. And he says even if everyone reads them, the people who don't read them typically still think they're good, trustworthy journalism. And I don't know if that's true either. But the point is, they control this massive platform. They make money off this massive platform. And they then, in turn, regulate that platform themselves, as right now I think it's their right to do. I think it's their right to do. The problem is they hinder, and perhaps deliberately so, the ability of others to pursue their ideal. Now, I just want to quick point out, I think that was very interesting because this was reported April 25th in Western Journal, that Google rejects Christian publishers' ads because they mentioned Bible and Jesus.
Time of the gentleman is expired. Thank you. Chair recognizes Jackson Lee for a unanimous consent request.
Chairman, I thank you very much. I just wanted to indicate that to the witnesses that I want to make sure the First Amendment applies to all. I want to put it into the record, however, for Ms. Hardaway and Ms. Richardson, that it may be this number is up or down, but they have 650,000 on Twitter, 1.5 million on Facebook at this time, 140,000 subscribers on YouTube, but I think they have grown in their Facebook numbers in the last 3 weeks, upwards of to 350,000. Let's let the First Amendment be the guiding post for this hearings.
Was that a unanimous consent request? It doesn't sound like it.
It's a unanimous consent. I'm submitting these numbers into the
record. Well, they've already testified to something different, so I'd have to object to that being submitted.
Well, I have a right to put the materials in the record.
Absolutely.
I think so. I ask unanimous consent.
But with the testimony of others, not as if that is, yes, so we'll allow that into the record.
Thank you very much.
And I did want to make sure the gentlelady understood the time of the gentlelady was paused for 30 seconds earlier. So with the introduction, the applause, you did get an extra 30 seconds in addition to another minute and a half after the gentlelady. So gentlelady had 2 more minutes than anybody else will have today. This time, the chair recognizes Mr. Deutsch for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thanks very much to all of our witnesses for being here today.
Oh, I've had that bitch escorted the fuck out of the building.
I represent
Get the fuck out of here.
The city of Parkland, Florida, where on Valentine's Day this year, a young man walked into Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School with an AR-15 and killed 17 people in 6 minutes and 20 seconds. For hours, students across the campus ran in fear, hid for their lives, hid in closets inside locked classrooms. Now, the student survivors of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas have received a lot of attention, not merely because of the attack and because they were there that day, but because of how they have responded. And that's because they've grown up in a world where mass shootings are relatively common.
They are not relatively common.
Disturbing ways.
And most of them are done by insane people, majority of which wind up being liberals.
Having grown up in an active shooter world where they all had active shooter training and nevertheless watched their friends die beside them, in the days after the shooting, they didn't hold back. They documented the reactions of their classmates as amateur reporters. They spoke out across the media. They called out this Congress's failure to do anything to stop these tragedies, or this committee's only action on gun laws opening up every state in the country to the lowest common denominator through concealed carry reciprocity. I am tremendously proud of these students.
This guy wants to take your Second Amendment so he can yank your First Amendment.
To attack them. They have been called crisis actors.
And they are.
They have been called
Hogg wasn't even them 2 kids.
They have been disparaged.
The boy wasn't even in school.
Defamed.
And he's been in 3 different shooting videos because his dad's in the FBI.
Time of the shooting.
He was on a beach in his swimming trunks with a T-shirt one day. I was part of this shit. This dude's been in so many. That's what people don't seem to understand. There's videos, motherfucker, everywhere in different shootings.
Ripping up a copy.
He ain't no high schooler either. I don't think motherfucker's 17. I think that son of a bitch is actually 19, 20 years old.
Of Emma Gonzalez ripping up the United States Constitution. This is real. This is bogus. And yet, this was circulated over and over again on the internet to willing viewers who were ready to accept it. The images went viral. Millions of users saw them in minutes. Truthers have spread lies, claiming that the event never happened, that the 17 people who were gunned down in my community did not die. That's made the rounds on the internet. Just like they did and continue to do about the 26 and 7-year-olds who were slaughtered at Sandy Hook. That's all.
No, he's not talking about the people down in Vegas and the liberal. He's not talking about the dude who's doing the highway shootings. He's not talking about all these people they promote who went in this country going around running over people with vehicles and blowing people the fuck up. He don't talk about none of that shit. No. Let's worry about people tearing up fucking photos and documents. What the fuck ever.
Morality by the tech companies whose platforms are used to spread this vile and outrageous and offensive garbage that attacks kids and denies the very existence of a horrific event that tore the heart out of my community.
Facebook likes to call itself a neutral platform only when it suits them. In situations like this, where terrible pictures get proliferated through their platform, but they know as well as we know that the problem is designed in. Facebook likes when those images get spread around because they want the additional engagement, they want the clicks, they want the hyper-partisan networks to spread this around. So they're not thinking about what's right and what's wrong.
Let me ask you a question. Are they under any obligation? I already asked about the moral obligation. Is there any legal obligation to protect either the individuals attacked or others from this sort of ugly and defamatory content?
They are under no legal obligation to do so.
And is it, Mr. Chavarin, if they are publishers, and a number of all of our witnesses have acknowledged the role that the technology companies play in distributing news, if they are distributing news, do they have some editorial responsibility to ensure that this type of, in this case, of the manipulated images, that this never appears, and that the invocation of Nazi
He's showing a photo of a meme of the Emma Gonzalez girl tearing up that Constitution.
Well, they expect
that was a meme.
Control,
and that's because she's out there talking about taking away your Second Amendment rights.
Kind of content.
That's why that meme was up there, and he's deeming it as something different. Someone made a meme to expose what she was actually saying, and now he's acting offended because he's too fucking stupid to understand that shit. Nobody sees the bigger picture.
For content that drives attention but may not be accurate or correct.
Just last question. Is it censorship to expect that this image, this false image, be taken down the moment?
Now is when I would like, can I respond to him? What's up?
I think I would come at it differently in that I think there's a responsibility to give at least much emphasis on content quality and content.
Put them in context and explain why it's like that.
Then to what we have is the opposite: is highlighting irresponsible sources.
Irresponsible.
I'm a gentleman that's expired. I'll recognize myself for 5 minutes. There's a story from Facebook. About Facebook on Fox News, where they list a number of things like
go on, man. I still watch that crab video of yours.
Censorship, giving a specific example of that.
That motherfucker's hilarious.
The administration of a pro-Trump group was banned for saying Trump is not anti-Muslim, but he is anti-ISIS. Facebook locked kids out that posted videos supporting Rudy Giuliani's criticisms of Obama, calling it suspicious activity. Facebook approved Christian hate groups, and I'm not going to even mention the names. They're so vile, coming after Christians, but shut down Christian groups quite often. And examples are given like Kirk Cameron's movie Unstoppable. Christopher Campbell was blocked for 30 days for expressing his opinion about attacks in Cologne, Germany, and the right to bear arms. Canadians were censored for criticizing Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's response to refugee shootings. I mean, there's lots of examples. And if you could indulge me, Mr. Zolka, Mr. Walden, and Mr. Shavarn, if you would look over to your right at these two ladies, well, obviously, Mr. Waldman doesn't like to, well, thank you. But anyway, I just wanted you to see evidence of improper censorship. They are walking evidence of Facebook censorship. I know you say there's not any evidence, but there is. And it's been given here today. It will continue to surface in the future. And I would like to also point out, just an observation I've had, Alan Keyes, Clarence Thomas, they're heroes of mine. And they can let you know that nobody, and Golden Silk can substantiate it, I don't think there's anybody in America that suffers more vile reproach and bigotry than black conservatives. And if you throw Christianity on top of black and conservative, you're just at the bottom of the pile. Alan Keyes has certainly experienced that. Clarence Thomas has as well. I did want to ask Ms. Hardaway and Ms. Richardson, you paid Facebook for your post to be boosted on their platform, correct?
Sometimes we do.
But you had an agreement for content promotion with Facebook. Wasn't there an example where you paid them to boost your platform and it was not boosted?
Well, we paid them to boost our platform, but it didn't reach. And the reason why it didn't reach is because they have labeled accounts as very liberal that's not very liberal. So of course your stuff is not going to reach.
And they also place limit on our page. They have a little red sign there on the top of our Facebook page that stated that it was limited.
Mm-hmm, right, they did that. And I just need to clarify something because I don't like to be called a liar. Facebook did not reach out to us until via Twitter on April the 12th. The last time we heard from Facebook was on April the 5th, when they deemed us unsafe to the community.
Well, when the Twitter was posted, was that posted only to you, where only you could see it?
Well,
or was
we have a verified account, so when we went into our verifieds, that's when we saw it, and we was very transparent because we put it out there online for everybody.
See that?
Yes.
So it wasn't just a communication to you, it was communication to the world.
It was on
you were
that's
not
right.
singled out. They didn't specifically communicate to you.
No, it was no
They put something out to the world to make it look like they were.
Absolutely. They had got caught in the hot seat. Mark Zuckerberg had lied. Maybe he got it from his PR people. We don't know. There was never indirect communication with us. And I need to clarify that.
Let me just point out, FedEx, UPS, they hold themselves out as getting your package where you want it to go. Mm-hmm. But suppose they started saying, you know what, if you're conservative, if it's a conservative destination, we're not going to deliver it. I mean, it seems like Facebook, YouTube, some of these are holding themselves out to be a public platform and be a public square when actually they censor, they set up algorithms to determine who gets more. I mean, it would be like saying you have a public square, but we're going to put you on the public square in a soundproof booth. So in my last 10 seconds, let me just say, I'm not for more government regulation, but I do think since they are deciding what goes on and what gets censored, they should be liable, and I'm working on laws to make that happen.
Love it.
And with that, would recognize who's up next.
Now you'll be able to sue Facebook, YouTube, and Google for censoring you. And you'll have proof on your system that you do it with.
Distinguished witnesses for your presence here today.
If they make this retro, I'll be able to go back and yank everything I've ever been banned for, whatever, and sue for all of it. If they were to run it like that, they would cease to exist with one lawsuit.
Anything like that. So when you say, wait a minute, hold on. When you say
one class action lawsuit would kill him.
Not when he was in office. Let me back up. If I had something to say, it was during the election when they were running.
And what was that opinion?
That I didn't think he was a good president. He didn't do anything for the black community. Look at the people from Chicago, and he was from Chicago. So I had a very vocal opinion. But while he was in office, like before the election, I didn't publicly say anything because I just wasn't into it until Donald Trump came along.
Now, are you familiar with a governmental entity called the Federal Election Commission?
The FEC, I am.
And are you aware that presidential campaigns are required to submit what's called campaign finance disclosure reports with the FEC?
Yes.
And those FEC disclosure reports detail contributions made to the Trump campaign. Are you aware of that fact?
It could be. I mean, okay.
And the FEC reports also publicly disclose what's called expenditures or disbursements made by the Trump campaign. Are you aware of that fact?
Well, I keep hearing it. I heard somebody put out a news article that was out there, but...
Okay. Let me enter into the record, Mr. Chairman. I ask unanimous consent for what's called the post-general election FEC report filed by the Trump campaign on May 12th.
He doesn't tell them what he's asking. He hasn't even told them why.
Can he tell me how much?
Mr. Gomer?
Okay.
Without objection.
Thank you very much. Now,
he hasn't even mentioned the amount. I think it's the amount that the one lady was talking about, but it's something that Donald Trump donated to their page.
Quote, "We were not paid by the Trump campaign."
That's exactly what it is.
That is correct.
Okay.
Watch.
Now,
he donated to them.
Testimony today is under oath, subject to the penalty of perjury?
Yes, we are aware of that.
Okay. Now,
And they ain't worried. He
dated
donated.
May 12th,
We have a PayPal. He donated to our PayPal. He did not pay us.
States that
he donated.
On November 22nd, 2006.
That's how idiotic these people are. You don't get paid by Facebook. You get donations from people that like what you do.
Incorporated paid Diamond and Silk $1,274.94 for field consulting. Are you familiar with that?
We're familiar with that particular lie. We can see that you do look at fake news. What happened is, and what should have happened is, you should have come to our mouths to see what exactly happened before a false narrative was put out there about the $1,274.94. So let me explain right now to you and the world.
Hold on one second, because I want to give you the opportunity to explain, which is why I'm asking the question.
Right.
I'm actually trying to figure out, are you calling this FEC document fake? Well, actually, let me get some clarity.
No, we're not calling that fake.
I'm going to give you an opportunity to respond.
Okay.
I'm just really trying, I'm struggling. I'm really just trying to figure out.
Well, you need to shut the fuck up and let them talk.
Document that clearly indicates that the two of you were paid for field consulting by the Trump campaign. That's just one document. There may be others that are out here. And
so now they're trying to shut him down.
This was a document filed,
and he won't let them talk.
Genuineness and authenticity by the campaign of the president that you so love. And so I'm just trying to figure out.
We understand that this
is lying here. Is it the Trump campaign, or is someone not telling the truth?
Nobody is lying. However, there may have been a mistake from the Trump campaign whenever they wrote what the $1,274.94 was for. Actually, this was for because we was asked to join the Women for Trump tour back in 2016. And Miss Laura Trump asked that our airline tickets be refunded back to us because we paid for those tickets when we went from New York to Ohio. I have the email right here which substantiates what happened on September the 11th whenever Laura Trump wrote to Allen to tell them to reimburse us. So that $1,274.
I appreciate that explanation. So now let me just ask you one final question.
No, it was for a reimbursement.
I understand.
That's right, not field consulting.
I understand.
I've never been paid by the Trump campaign.
I appreciate that, and I'm just trying to figure out whether, consistent with what the president indicated,
they just told him the truth.
Monetize your support for him.
We asked us to monetize our platform, and there's nothing wrong with that. As an African American, you're not going to make us feel guilty because we're going to get out here and we're going to take advantage of these platforms and monetize, just like everybody else do. I don't see you walking up to a white person and saying, "Oh, you shouldn't be monetizing that." So why are you, as an African American, making it
the gentleman's time has expired.
with us monetizing our platform?
Your game. I really do.
It's not a game.
It's not a game. Of whether funds.
The gentleman's time has
or not.
expired. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes. First, I want to thank Chairman Goodlatte for calling this hearing and also being open to listening to all of the witnesses' testimony here before the committee today on this very important issue that we must get right. The rights we hold as Americans should be upheld, whether we're speaking words.
The Democrats are trying to demonize these two women. They're not even interested in their constitutional rights, and in fact, they're being censored. He wants to make them out to be criminals and destroy whatever, and that's exactly what he's doing. This is what your government don't give a fuck about you.
I'm very glad.
Plain and simple. That's what this is about.
Opportunity to come before our committee today and discuss her own personal experience as well as her work here in Congress to be an advocate for an open and fair internet.
That's all they're doing.
Blackburn explained, she had her pro-life message about fighting the disgusting practice of the sale of baby body parts stricken from Twitter because it was deemed inflammatory and would cause a negative response. It's appalling to see that the very unborn children who cannot yet speak for themselves and has an advocate fighting for them to only be erased by others. I'm proud to be unapologetically pro-life, and I strongly believe that our online platforms must be neutral public forums, which would allow us to continue to speak out for the unborn. I'm glad that all of you are here today and have had the chance to express your own unique circumstances with content.
And the people that are suppressing you are making money off of you.
Your perspective is extremely valuable to this very important conversation. I'd like to direct my question to Mr. Shavern. Did I say that correctly? Today. I've had that, and I apologize, there's a lot of hearings going on right now, so you've seen members come and go. But I had the opportunity to hear firsthand from Michael Galvin and Bro Cruft, the president and editor, respectively, of my hometown paper in Montgomery, Alabama, the Montgomery Advertiser. And as members of the News Media Alliance, they have shared with me some of the concerns that you expressed in your testimony today, and I'd like to ask you to use the remainder of my time to expand upon how apps and tech platforms are impacting local and regional journalism. With that said, before I turn it over to you to finish out my time, I just think that this is a very important conversation again, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. I hope that this is the beginning of more conversations, as we have seen across many different platforms as technology continues to progress.
16 more minutes of this.
And taking note.
Nope.
And so I'll
government ain't paying for it. Your next door neighbor is.
On your testimony, but although the chairman's not here, he knows that I hope that we will continue to have more conversations along these lines. And again, I thank you each for being here with us today.
Thank you very much. Very kind of you. Fundamentally, as the communications and media world is progressing, Google and Facebook are the primary distribution mechanisms for news online. That's how people get their news. And but the rules under which Google and Facebook manage their content emphasize low quality news options and make it very difficult for people who are actually in the business of journalism and paying journalists and doing real reporting for making that a sustainable business. And if present trends continue, you have these huge incentives for really low quality, bad information online that pushes out actually verified quality journalism. And that's not just bad for our business, right? That is extremely bad for our civil society. We'll get to a place, people's curiosity about the world, what's happening in their communities, will always be there. The question is, what will satisfy it? Will actually professional journalism satisfy it, or will it be free garbage that feeds inherent need for people to feel passionate and angry about something?
So setting a good example, my time is about to expire, but again, I look forward to continuing this conversation down the road. And again, I appreciate you all being here today.
Thank you.
I now recognize Mr. Liu for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. This is a stupid and ridiculous hearing. The only reason I'm still here is I want to enter some facts into the record to at least try to salvage some of this hearing. So I want to put in the record an article from USA Today, December 5th, 2017. It talks about the top tweeted U.S. elected officials.
Am I no?
Okay.
Well, yeah.
The top 3 elected officials. Number 1, Donald Trump.
I smoke dabs because pills have almost killed me a couple times.
The notion that social media is somehow censoring conservative folks is ridiculous. And 3 witnesses today have testified that that's not happening. And we don't do laws by anecdote. At least I hope I don't. And we shouldn't. But it's a more fundamental problem. The First Amendment applies to the government. Can we just get that clear? It does not apply to restrict content of private companies. So let's just go through something very simple.
The First Amendment only applies to government, is what this guy just fucking said.
We use what to filter, right?
Correct.
And we can't tell Facebook what content to filter. The government can't, right?
Correct.
Yeah, you can.
It's flat out unconstitutional, right?
Yes, sir.
We can't force
It's also
Facebook
unconstitutional for them to do what they're doing.
Isn't that right?
Correct.
I've seen places that regulate content on the internet and in the media.
Yeah, they censor.
North Korea, Russia.
They censor.
Iran.
They censor.
We don't want to be like that.
No, we don't. That's why they shouldn't be doing what they're doing.
It's unconstitutional to begin with. But let's go a little further into this. Everyone has a right to monetize. So Facebook monetizes. You know how they do it? You know how I can get stuff out on Facebook and make sure lots of people see it? I pay for it. You pay for ads, and then they send it out. They don't care.
This guy did not hear anything. They said they paid, and then they would not send it out.
Promote them. It's ridiculous. They do not have to do that. Twitter doesn't have it. These are private companies. They are not like UPS or FedEx.
Oh, this guy's an idiot.
They are like publishers. They're like the media.
They're just like that. They're private companies.
The fact that we're here debating should we regulate content on the internet is completely ridiculous. I don't know why the Republicans want to even think about doing this. What makes America great is we get to say stuff and not have the government intervene. And yes, do I think it's bad that there's no regulation on the internet? Probably. But you know what's far worse? Is to have the government regulate it. Who's going to decide? How do we even write a bill?
They're not trying to get the government to regulate. He's trying to get the government to fucking say, hey, tell them they can't infringe on our constitutional rights. Do your fucking job. This guy is a senator and has no idea why he's a senator. None. He's there based on feeling and things that he's got. That's fucking insane.
So, Mrs. Oka.
Welcome to America, home of the fucking retards.
It's true, isn't it, that is largely one of the things that caused the internet to expand and grow.
It is the law that made the internet possible.
And one of the prime features of that act is we're not going to go ahead and regulate and sue companies based on content. Isn't that right?
That was the Republican idea in 1996.
Exactly. And when we tried this regulation of the media through this stupid fairness.
Oh, I know.
It was Reagan that said, history, right?
But you can't have.
Thought that the Republicans stood for.
You can't have heartless politics.
Having the government intervene into aspects.
See what I'm saying? That's why it's a problem.
Republican-controlled Judiciary Committee.
You have to be really open-minded to do something like this.
Any other tech company should do or should not do. We should let
That's why you don't sit here and say the Constitution is an evolving thing. It's not. Yeah, it is with the times. But
that promotes cats.
The simple fact that you're saying, look,
Thankfully not.
Let's say Facebook.
When common sense goes away, and the fact that you're either born a male or a female,
In a government
you know what I'm saying?
No.
If you're born a boy, you're a boy. You're born a girl, you're a girl. If you're born both, some genetic fuck up happened. You can do whatever you need to do to go wherever you need to go.
Furry animals.
But it shouldn't be forced upon you. You know what I'm saying?
You can't do that.
No.
But if you're a man,
Google has decided, what
human mutilation is fucking is wrong.
And the government say you can't.
You can't go say, I was born John.
You're back.
So instead of being John, I want to be Tiffany. So I'm going to go to this doctor and have him cut all my shit off.
Submitted testimony to give a thoughtful analysis of congressional intent. Can you describe the approach courts have taken to determining
why is that doing that?
Computer service providers have immunity under Section 230?
Thank you, Congressman. That's an extremely thoughtful question. This is exactly where people get confused. Section 230 is not an absolute immunity. It does not exclude criminal prosecution.
Oh, you're spamming
and it depends on two things. First of all, you are only immune against civil litigation or state criminal prosecution for content created by third parties. Once you take a role to create the content, once you become responsible for developing that content, even in part, you are no longer immune. So if Facebook starts actively creating content, or editing user content in a way that changes meaning, or creates its own political content as it creates videos today, none of that is protected by Section 230.
Is there consensus among the courts on that analysis?
Crystal clear. The courts have...
Yeah, this anonymous thing keeps flying across top of the thing. Dude's trying to spam me off and get my shit to lock up.
That they meant something completely different. What they meant was that the tools, for example, that roommates.com used were tools that were not, quote, neutral, because they required users to actually commit housing discrimination. That was a non-neutral search tool, but that's very different from political neutrality. The whole point of the statute is to give service providers immunity in making decisions about removing objectionable content. That is crystal clear.
Well, how does, again, neutrality doesn't appear in the statute, but how does it factor in to 230?
Well, if anything, Section 230 is designed to encourage non-neutrality, to say to service providers, website operators, that they can make whatever decisions they want about removing content, and it's up to them. The only limit...
Do you ever cross a line, though? Does it ever cross a line where an algorithm or something can be doing that?
There is one other line in the statute, which is that the immunity we're talking about here, Section 230, C2A, requires good faith. There's not a lot of case law on that because most of the case law is on the prime immunity, that's 230C1. But good faith has been, for example, the courts have said things like, if you are acting in anti-competitive ways, that wouldn't prevent an antitrust suit against you. But there's no case law to suggest that that good faith requirement requires political neutrality. And I think that implying that would be unconstitutional. It would put the government in the position of determining what speech is appropriate and what speech is not.
One of the things that I've been concerned about is the violent and extremist content that's out there. Your testimony referenced a news story that Facebook added 3,000 employees last year to help screen for violence. Again, this is an issue that we have in our culture. What is your assessment of social media platform screening procedures for filtering and removing content that displays extremist or violent content?
That they probably need to do more. I am a civil libertarian, but as Congressman Liu mentioned, this is not an issue of the First Amendment. I think these platforms have a moral responsibility to filter out content like that, and that's why Section 230 is there, so they can make those decisions without fearing increased legal liability.
And that's why they censor.
To dictate to them how they do so.
One of the things I've seen over the last 10, 15 years in our culture.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, but that's...
Where the right demonizes the left or the left demonizes the right. You can't even have a policy difference anymore. And I'm wondering, Ms. Hardaway...
Yeah, it's been nonstop rolling, man.
Do you feel as though you've been demonized?
Turn notifications off.
Our brand has been tarnished. We've been lied on. They're saying it's a Facebook hoax. This is not a hoax. People's lives and livelihood has been damaged from what these giant techs do to people. They pull the rugs from up under them. And then I hear people say, well, oh, this is a private entity. This is not public. Well, they went public in 2012.
This is a separate issue. There's a cultural thing going on out there where it's not okay just to have a disagreement anymore.
Right.
You know,
all right, I did that, but it's still going on. So does it have to catch up and then stop, or will it just knock off in a second?
Ideas, then anything about my political, I should not be categorized through Facebook based off of my political affiliation.
Right.
There shouldn't be a mechanism placed there with Facebook to say what my political affiliation is.
And we should start learning how to agree to disagree so that we can get along in this world, so that we won't bicker back and forth. We should use this here as a bipartisan effort to bridge the gap so that we all can have free speech. And we should act like it don't exist. We should act like that we're not being censored. That's what really irritates me. It infuriates me.
My time has expired. The chair recognizes gentleman from Maryland, Mr. Raskin, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I wanted to echo our colleague, Mr. Liu, in saying I'm a little bit astonished how we've descended to the level of political theater and spectacle in this committee when there are so many important issues that we've not dealt with. For example, a universal criminal mental background check on firearm purchases, which is supported by
this stuff is absolutely insane, man. I don't know what this anonymous follower shit. It's gonna, I guess, just keep happening. I don't know.
Political attacks, but
we
are where we are, and I wanted to start with something Mr. Gohmert said. He quoted a Fox News story about apparent reprisals or intimidation.
And they're everywhere. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Liberals, man, they run the fucking planet.
Pulled up an article about political intimidation.
We all know the Queen is just a figurehead. Donald Trump is the exact same thing, but they work on his ideas. Nobody works on what the Queen fucking says.
Is
She
there
just fucking
anybody on the
sits there.
panel who thinks that the government should be compelling Fox News to allow for the use of the words climate change or for stories about climate change if they don't want to run it? So anybody thinks that that's the role of the government?
But Fox does do that shit. When people bring it up and talk about it, they talk about it. They don't tell them they don't want to. They do actually talk about it.
To follow some other ideological or political policy. Okay, so we all seem to agree then that the First Amendment is what operates in this field. And then the question of the government's role turns on the role of Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which we've started to discuss. As I understand it, there's two parts to it. One is that the internet service providers, the social media, are not legally responsible for third-party content. But the other part of it is that they're not responsible if they decide to censor content based on it being pornographic, vulgar, profane, or I think it's written in very vague, broad terms. Or
no, it's very specific terms. There's 4 reasons they're not allowed to.
If anybody wants to quickly opine on the constitutionality of that provision, because essentially what we're doing is we are taking what we've defined as a media entity that's protected by the First Amendment in other contexts, but then we're uniquely and selectively insulating them from legal liability for certain kinds of things, even not just in the case, I think, Mr. Sokol, you're talking about where they didn't know about what was going on, but if they do know what's going on, they could still be insulated legally from it. And I wonder if anyone thinks that that creates constitutional due process problems from the standpoint of someone who believes they've been libeled or someone who thinks that they've otherwise been a victim of illegal conduct by one of the covered entities. If both of you take a shot at it. Yeah.
So I take your point. I want to emphasize here that Section 230 does not stop anyone from suing the person who has defamed them. So that is just off the table. The question is, can you hold the third party responsible? And I would just emphasize that Congress understood that if you held the third party responsible, you would discourage them from being good Samaritans.
But that's true of newspapers and TV just as well. I mean, New York Times versus Sullivan, the Supreme Court said the New York Times could be held accountable if it knew that it was publishing defamatory content. This seems to insulate the internet providers, even when they know that something, for example, is defamatory, saying, well, they've got a right to publish it anyway.
And the crucial difference here is that Congress understood in a bipartisan bill in 1996 that if you treated online service providers as if they were newspapers, at the scale of the internet, where you could have billions of users and decisions that are made in real time, that you would not be able to have the newspapers screen content the way that service providers online screen content, the way that newspapers screen letters to the editor, because of the scale involved, and that as a practical matter, you would simply see online discussion of controversial topics cease, that user forums would no longer be available.
But you would agree that does make it sound a lot more like a public utility, the way that Ms. Hardaway and Ms. Richardson are talking about it. You're making it sound there as if, well, we're going to create special rules for them because everybody uses it and the volume of traffic is such.
No, sir. This protection applies to websites large and small. The smallest blog is actually the best served. They are the ones that need Section 230.
No, I agree. It's all the blogs, but it's on the internet as opposed to, the newspapers are responsible for what they publish, whether it's the New York Times or it's a community newspaper.
Yeah, I think at that point, that's when it went out. Yeah, that's when they cut it out. I don't think it's back. It's probably gone by now. But, yeah, that was that. That was your government trying to take away your First Amendment rights. Well, most of them. So, have fun with that. Do more later.